Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Premier Endurance League GT3 Limited Series, brought to you by Dash Off-Road 4x4 Parts and Accessory Store. The twists and turns of the second longest permanent race course in the world bring us our challenge here this evening as we make our way to the outer suburbs of South Australia, not too far away from Adelaide City itself. Shell V-Power Motorsport Park, also known as the Bend, based out of Bend. We're going to be in for one hell of a night as GT3 sports car action goes racing around a race course that is quite young in its stages of formality in the world. It's only a handful of years old, less than a decade old. It's going to be a massive test for you. Hamish Bunbury here with you alongside Pete Baxter here this evening. Pete, massive round two on offer for us for tonight. It was a big round one only a month ago back at Silverstone. And tonight at the Bend, this is going to be a big test because unlike Silverstone, it's a track where drivers are not going to have nearly as many laps at this track, and it's one that is a little bit tougher than what Silverstone offered us up.
Interesting. Hey, listen, firstly, Hamish, first time you and I have commentated together, and Premier Endurance League is going to be in for a treat because you're a ratbag, I'm a ratbag, we talk to drivers, and we'll have a really good time. So that's kind of cool. Absolutely spot on. Silverstone, I was away fishing for Silverstone. I caught lots of really, really big fish. You'd be surprised about how big they were. But anyway, we're back here tonight. Silverstone, one of my favourite tracks. The Bend is slowly becoming one of my next favourite tracks, Hamish. Do you know why? It is because it's got a mix of awesome corners. It's got some long straights, it's got some hard braking zones, it's got overtaking areas, it's got corners that duplicate into corners that duplicate into corners that just make the driving really, really cool. But the main thing is it's got opportunity for drivers to come up against each other, draft each other, race each other, and more importantly, overtake and make positions on track if they're faster. Now that for me makes exciting racing. We did this with PEL only a couple of weeks ago in the Open Series, and we had a 2-hour race, no safety cars, Hamish. Absolutely no safety cars. You weren't there. The race just went on and on. In fact, no, sorry, we did. We had an early safety car, if I remember right. But the race just went on. It was a really, really good race. It spread out, and there was lots of strategy at play. So tonight, we've got the limited drivers, so the drivers under a specific class, about 2,500 rating, and these drivers are out good to go. We had there were some great results, and I can see them from Silverstone. You obviously called it, I didn't from that one, but from the last series to now, and some new names and some old names. But yeah, happy to do this with you tonight, and let's go.
I mean, this is, the privilege of not only my first broadcast with you, Pete, my first broadcast for Premier Endurance League as well. I have the esteemed honour of trying to cover for Scott Rankin this evening, so I'll try and do my best to maximise on my Rankinisms or anything like that I might be able to get out of myself this evening. Many, many things to talk about tonight. Not only the racing itself, but what's been happening across this weekend. Earlier today, obviously, the Alliance Sim Racing Bathurst 1000. A couple of these drivers would have taken part, including this man, race winner Trent Allen, who won the 1000 alongside James Scott. How much pressure is Trent now going to be on tonight, Peter? Because he's just gone through a 1,000-kilometre race around one of the toughest circuits on iRacing to come to one of the toughest circuits on iRacing to do a solo sports car 2-hour race on board a Ford Mustang GT3 car. He might have won Bathurst in a Ford Mustang supercar, but both cars don't really go hand in hand you can straight swap over. This is going to be a big test for Trent tonight. And, last season's champion, will he have it so easy as what he may have previously had it? I don't know. I think it's going to be a real test for him to, in endurance terms, Pete, to really maximise on his performances tonight, but time will tell.
Oh, look, I think you're right. It's a great endurance test. Personally, to jump from a big endurance race through today and then do a 2-hour one at night, the luxury he's got, I think, going from the supercar to the GT3 is easier than if he had spent the whole day in the GT3 and then he's got to go to the supercar. Because the increase in downforce and controls you get in the GT3 will help him be able to accommodate quicker than rather than if he does have an element of fatigue, then it would almost be going backwards. Look, Trent sitting fifth in the championship. He's always been a big name in PL in this championship. I have no doubt that he's going to figure quite highly tonight. But the name that I'm really looking forward to doing well tonight is actually Rue Koistra. I've been commentating the Premier Endurance League for most of the season now. And Rue has been fast but out of luck. And I know Mum's always on YouTube, and she sends us our regards. And good on you, share. If you're out there tonight, awesome, love to see you out there. But what I'm loving seeing is Rue's currently P2 in the championship. So that tells me, even though I wasn't here, he had a great race at Silverstone, and we're finally going to get to see, hopefully, Rue Koistra get in there and mix it with the guys that have been able to actually have success in PL so far. So really, really exciting. That's one driver I'm looking forward to having a lot of luck and getting out there and having a good time.
You mentioned he's P2 in the championship. He started Silverstone on the wrong end of an incident. He ended up, in an incident at the start of the race back at Silverstone, came back, and then has had a quality performance to get him to P2 in the championship. For Rue Koistra, for me, I've only ever known Rue from folklore, Pete. Of course, my race team's been a part of the V8 Veterans. Rue at one point in time was a part of that league as well. And I never had a chance to call one of his races prior to broadcasting. So I'm intrigued to see how Rue can do here tonight and how well he can tame the bend here in this McLaren as he comes up towards the start-finish line. Looks to be a better lap for him than his previous best. Could jump him up a couple of spots here as he crosses the start-finish line. We'll see what the lap time is when it resets the timing for us. I don't even know if it's actually counted. I don't think it has. Yeah, it's still a 146, so not a whole lot better for Rue there. There's a couple of drivers that I recognise the names of in here. There's a lot more that I don't. So I'm excited to call some new drivers that I've never got to call before, Pete, and see how they do in sports car racing and in endurance setting as well. It's also exciting to call racing of drivers that I do know and I know quite well from calling their races in the past and seeing how they can put those skills I've seen previously into tonight's event as qualifying comes to an end. At the moment, Isaac Curtis is on provisional pole, but his teammate Trent Allen will look to try and challenge the pole position for his Revolution E-Racing teammate. It looks to be a front row lockout at this stage, as we're not really seeing anyone else light up the timesheets right now to challenge that position on the road for the ARTT entries. But right now, it is Mustang dominance. And how interesting is it, Pete, that the BOP over the last few months has really upgraded this Mustang back into positive performances and out of obscurity, and it's made it a car of choice for a lot of drivers going sports car racing, not just in leagues but in officials as well.
We saw, Hamish, in the open race last week that the top 10 positions were all the new Ford Mustangs, and if it gets that out of control, I think the BOP is a little bit too biased towards it. Now, look, full disclaimer, never been a Ford man, right? So, been a Hold man all my life and never been a Ford man. And seeing the Ford Mustang up there, look, frankly, it's good for GT3. It mixes up the field a bit, but it's got to be, it's got to be balanced. It's got to be a field that balances all of the marks, and not have, if you pick the Mustang, you're going to be in the top 10 versus everybody else. So, I think iRacing got some work to do there. I think you hit the nail on the head. Its balance of performance has it is certainly jumped up, but I think right now it is the car of choice for anybody who is reasonably quick and has an element of alien about them, and we're seeing it, quite prominent in the results, which we saw it last week in the Open Series, and already 4 out of the top 5 so far with qualifying from what we can see right now. In the Limited Series, we'll see how that pans out over the race, and we'll see some other marks whether they come up or not. So we'll see how it goes.
We've obviously stepped away from the previous norm of Acura Cup in GT racing. We're going to Dark Horse Challenge now, where the Mustang's becoming the car of choice. Be interesting to see how the new Aston Martin does actually amongst this field as well. Of course, fresh to iRacing, only a few weeks old in the lifespan of iRacing for itself as well, and how that's going to do here tonight at the Bend. It's a car that's very popular with those that have driven it. They love the sound. They love outfields as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. 5-minute warm-up to come our way. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. So before the grid goes up, let's have a chat about the race tonight, Hamish. So we got a 2-hour endurance race tonight. GT3 60% fuel tank. So what that means for everybody listening is 60% fuel tank in the GT3 is around about the 40-minute mark. Now, in terms of a 2-hour endurance race, that's 240 minutes and a splash to get to the end. So if we have an early safety car, you can take a gamble and do a splash with no tyres, and you can go to the end. Now, what we saw in the Open Series race last week is we saw an early safety car, we saw the early splash happen, but what we saw then, Hamish, after that was we saw some drivers, they all took tyres in the first stop, but some drivers in the middle stop of the race and the second stop wouldn't take tyres. So it became a bit of a tyre race over the course of the event. So that's something that we need to look out tonight. And if we can get a feel for who changes tyres or who doesn't change tyres through the pit stops. Now, we noted that it was about 21 and a half seconds. 21 and a half seconds plus was a tyre change in GT3. Anybody under 21 and a half seconds was just on fuel only. So there are some little flags for us to call out if we don't get positive from the drivers that they've changed tyres or not. So a couple of things in terms of strategy. Early safety car, 5 wide into turn 1, mate, that can happen. Safety car, really, really big, wide open pieces of grass. So you can go off on this circuit and come back on and not result in the safety car. And it will just keep the race going. So I'm expecting a race without safety car tonight. If we do have one, it's going to be early. Other than that, we're going to see it go on.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, Pete. I think that it's such an open track and such a wide track. There's only a couple of spots where there could be enough bottlenecking where we were likely to see that safety car. I think if it isn't early, the only possible chance we would have for it later in the race is if someone manages to blow their engine and they're stuck on the track somewhere. They're the only two scenarios I can see it getting called out of pit lane. You mentioned strategy, of course. I mean, you get roughly 40 minutes on the 60% tank. You then have pretty much two thought processes. One of them is you go 40 minutes full tank, 40 minutes, and then you do your little splash at the end. Or you go 40 minutes and a little splash. Or you come in a little bit earlier, maybe 20-minute mark, take a stop, go long, and then do a stop towards the end of the race and take some tyres as well. The other thought process is you cut it into half-an-hour blocks, Pete, where you come in at the half-an-hour mark, you come in at the hour mark sort of thing, and then try and balance it that way. It'll be interesting how these drivers balance up their stops tonight. If there are early safety cars, that may play a part in the strategy of some drivers. But what I think the beauty is of this form of racing, and what I think the beauty is of this track as well, is strategies will bring the battles back together again in the final 20 minutes of the race. It doesn't matter how spread out the cars will get throughout the natural course of pit stops and stuff like that. Eventually the battle packs will come back together again, and we should get a couple of good little packs, maybe only 1 or 2 cars, maybe 3 or 4, but we'll get a couple of those throughout the field. And by the end of the race, your fatigue's going to be high, your car's going to be on the ragged edge of grip as well, the track's going to be on the ragged edge of grip as well. It's going to be an absolute dogfight to the checkered flag of this race.
Oh, without a doubt. Like, so, we're waiting here for the grid to go up, and I'm sure you're going to take over. I was just looking for the driver of just one of the drivers from the last series that we've had. I was just trying to remember his name. Who would always take the alternate strategy, and you mentioned it, right? They take the alternate strategy and they pop out up near the front. I was trying to remember who it was, because I'll tell you what, it was always sensational. And if I can remember the driver's name, I'll bring it back up. But yeah, that alternate strategy in this league does work, because you just never know when something's going to happen. And with so many cars, what are we talking about? We're talking 49 cars on the track. That's a lot of cars to have on a racetrack. I tell you, but before we get to that grid, I do want to ask you, Hamish. We've seen now supercars, we've seen now a couple of GT3 events, iRacing events, all at the Bend, and then nearly all use the international circuit. What do you reckon the pros and cons are of going to the full circuit of the Bend? I'm not sure what they call it.
I think it's literally called. I think it's literally called the endurance layout. I think that's what it's called.
Or simply shorten it and go and use either the east or the west. And having a long race on a short track. You know what I mean?
I'll chime back in on it once we've gotten racing again as our grids comes up. So we'll put a pin in that one and we'll talk about it at some point during the race. The starting grid, though, will be as follows. Isaac Curtis will start on the front row of the grid in P1 for an all AITT Revolution E-Racing front row, alongside his teammate Trent Allen there on the front row with him. Matt Webber will then start alongside of James Mason for the second row of the grid, with Brock Caddy and Rue Coister for our top 6. Owen Coleman and Adrian Gretsch that make up the top 8, with John Trott and Jake Robillard for the top 10 here this evening. Brad Coates, Trent Stapleton will then make up the top 12 here tonight. Jake Robillard as well will start pole position for that alternate class. Now I can't remember what the name of it is. I do apologise. I will remember what it is during the race. Luke King, Patrick Reardon start in behind, with Martin Hallen and then Will Buchanan for our top 16, with Edward Adcock and Tristan McLaren for the top 18 cars on the road. Ben Wilkes and Glenn Hopkins then start for the top 20, with Luke Caposa and Dean Hunt for the top 22 cars, just ahead of the 7th row, with Kurt Chapman of Project 36 and Greg Brooks of Revolution E-Racing in behind them. Nathaniel Coburn then starts with Isaac Norman alongside him in behind them, with Mark Foster and Richard Mayer alongside him, with Matt Feely and Andrew Uden for the top 30. Greg Heaney, Ben Brooks start ahead of Sean Benici and Stefan Mellis, the Belgian, for an all-international 17th row of the grid. Let me get my maths very good, please and thank you. Jesse McMenamin will then start alongside Chris Ruddle for the top 36. We've still got another page to go. Ricky Provenzale starts alongside Jamie Saxon, with Nick Bottrell, Glenn Jones for the top 40 cars, Brendan Purcell, Dale Atkins, Nick Miller, Sam Lambert, John Lee, Braden O'Loughlin, Gavin Simpson and Tim Lawson for the top 48 cars on the grid. It's a big grid, and there's one car at the back of it, and that's Leith McClement. So 49 cars at the Bend. I mean, it's a big track. It's a big track. It's going to be a long night on the road for some of these drivers here, Pete. And if they have a tough run off the start line, it's going to be an even longer one.
Absolutely. Let's clear a couple of things up. So we've got two classes. The first class was those in red that Hamish called out. They are the GT3 Elite class. They are drivers with an I rating up to 3,500. And the second class we have is the GT3 Challenger class, and they are the drivers with an I rating up to 2,500. Ladies and gents, this is a multi-class race, same cars, drivers with similar but a little bit different, if that makes sense, abilities. But essentially, there is every chance that a GT3 Challenger could get well up into the top 10 and challenge for the win of this race. We normally see those with that little bit extra I rating, have that little bit extra go about them. But that's the two classes that we got, and they are split by the orange and the green labels on their positions on the leaderboard. So that's an easy way to keep in touch with who's who in terms of two different classes. Anyway, Hamish, over to you. We're about to line up for the start. I think the cars are coming around to the back end of the grid, so there's still got a couple of corners to go. I'll tell you what, I don't want to make a prediction tonight.
I don't even think we can. I think it's too open-ended for us to make a prediction. There's so many cars on track. We need two blankets to put it over them tonight. Just to give an update from race control as well, car 98 received a 10-second penalty off the back of qualifying for impeding. So they have started a little bit further back than where they actually qualified in the race here this evening. AITT Revolution E-Racing, dominant as ever. Off the back of a Bathurst 1000 win, will look to get a win. Only one state over at the home of the other endurance race this season for the Supercars Championship, the Bend here in Tailem Bend this evening for Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. There we see it, beautiful clear skies. It's 37% precipitation at the moment, partly cloudy, 30-degree track temp, so it is almost perfect conditions for some sports car racing. Track's not too hot, it's not too cold. It's going to be a good test for these drivers here as we run it round towards the start-finish line. Can Revolution E-Racing continue their dominance off the back of Season 1? Or are they going to be a challenge from other drivers in the field past as the safety car comes through towards the pit entry? Lights up! And the Bend is underway for us. as Isaac Curtis and Trent Allen get it underway. The scramble of cars behind them, nearly 4 wide down towards 2-1. As Curtis leads us in towards the braking zone for the first time. Allen lines up in behind him. Webber's in there too, and the scrambling of cars, just trying to find any little position they could get as Koistra goes round off the exit of turn 2. There's a bit of biffing and barging further back as well. Cars off everywhere on the road. And this is the moment you mentioned, Pete, the early time in this race where you've got to try and keep it clean, you've got to keep it mean, but you've got to stay out of trouble as well.
Number one piece of advice is to just get round that first lap without getting trouble. And in a lot of cases, you don't normally get that choice because it might be somebody else that's doing it. I mean, we've got another car. We've got Luke King turned around in turn 6 right now as well. So we've got a few cars to do back down the grid. Now, the question is, if you're in those cars you've been turned around, obviously you're going to call a race control, but race control doesn't save your race, right? You can only save your race by now going on to that alternate strategy, Hamish, and we talked about that, which is modifying what would be the run-of-the-mill pit stop. So you've either got to pick a short stop early or later now, and I feel bad for Rook because I call him out as somebody who'd had a fantastic race at Silverstone. I was hoping he'd go do really well, and then, yeah, turn 1, it's just got him. But anyway, we'll see what happens, and hopefully he can fight back, and we'll be calling a good result at the end.
You mentioned that, Pete. He started Silverstone at the back end of a bad incident. And he went on to, get P2. Like, he's very capable of putting that car in a positive position, putting that car in the position to do well. And with a long race tonight, with a tough race night as well, as we see the replay of turn 1, this is the moment for him. So outside line at 1, inside line at turn 2, and he just gets it a bit loose. I mean, I don't want to say typical classic, mid-engine GT car stuff with cold tyres, but that just seems to be what it is. Just lit it up at the wrong time.
I agree with you, Hamish. I think that there's no other driver involved in that, so that is a single driver error in that case. Although the one that I called at turn 6 with Kingy, I don't think is a case. I'm pretty sure that was a contact case. So a few things there for others to have a look at. But if Rue's done that on cold tyres with the mid-engine, and it looks like it's a McLaren that he's driving. Yeah, that's right. Then and that can happen. The McLaren can be a bit tail endy on cold tyres. Then he's got a bit of work to do to fight back.
Right on board at the moment here with Brock Caddy as he battles away, then back to John Trott of One Performance Racing for OPR as he rides on the back of Adrian Gretsch at this stage. A couple of drivers dropping a few positions here. The beauty of the Bend is there's some fantastic passing opportunities all around the track, and if a competitor makes a small mistake ahead of you, well, you can take advantage of that quite quickly. For John, well, he's a very experienced driver in this field, as is Brock Caddy, with that Aston Martin of Owen Coleman in behind him. But I must say, what a breath of fresh air it is, Pete, to have that Aston Martin in this field. It is a gorgeous GT car. Give me the Lexus, please, because more GTs are great for sports car fans.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you, Hamish, mate. I've had a little bit of break from driving, but having seen the Aston Martin over the last couple of weeks, I think I might just have to hit the purchase button and give it a good go. Because the GT4 has always been a good fun car to drive.
Sorry to cut you off, Pete. That was Jamie Saxon off the road in the Ferrari further back there. We'll try and get some images for you. He's back on the road now in that 418 Odyssey racing car, but back in P44, down 6th position. Martin Hamlin as well is off the road too, and I think it's at the final corner. It is. We were focusing on that Mustang through practice and qualifying earlier on, off and on screen, and now it has gone down the order. That is 17 positions lost for Martin in the TKR dash car, and he's now outside of the top 30. Matt Feely, though, battling away for OPR here with TriStar Racing's Luke Capoza, and there's action aplenty all over the track. You got no idea where to look at this point. I mean, it's there's battles here, there, and everywhere. If it could be like this for all 120 minutes of the Bend, we're going to be in for a cracking race, Pete.
Yeah, we are, but I've got a feeling that there are some drivers just over-driving right now at the moment. Instead of just taking the first sort of 10 minutes to settle into the race in the position they are, over-driving, trying to make up a position or two that, frankly, at this stage of the race, don't really matter. But what does matter is if you do make a mistake and have a spin, it's not the 1 or 2 positions you gain, it's the 10 to 15 you lose. And I think right now what we're seeing is a little bit of desperation over driving rather than guys really getting to settle in. Hamish, and I've talked about this with Scotty and the boys before, One of the things about the GT3 and iRacing is it's not warm tyres. You've got to warm up the tyres. You start with cold. You've got to take 2 or 3 laps to get them going. And if you're out there pushing it hard, if you're trying to do a qualifying lap on a race, you're going to burn yourself because you're going to find that the tyres are just not up to scratch to actually do what you want to do with a full tank of fuel. So I think that's what we're seeing right now. I think we're seeing people just trying to push a little bit too hard, a little bit of desperation early on in the race. That's sort of costing them, and they're going to have to fight back.
Do we think maybe the desperation could just be coming from feeling the pressure of the pack of cars around them? There's almost an aura and a sense of desperation amongst the field. Not necessarily that they're desperate, that they're going to try and punt someone off the road to take a position, but the fear of getting taken out early, sometimes that can take you over a little bit. The nerves can get to you as well. It takes almost half a stint sometimes to get over some of those nerves as we ride on board here with Brock Caddy. He doesn't seem to have any nerves right now, and neither does the car ahead of him, but Matt Webber looking to go up the inside of James Mason here, right on board of the roof of Caddy as these two cars battle for a podium position. We're only 6 minutes and roughly 20 seconds into this one, and well, they're fighting for sheep stations already here, Pete. They're not willing to give it up just yet. But right now, Mason holds the position over Webber. These guys have swapped position in this race. They started P3 and P4, but the other way around on the starting order. Caddy Stilbury started in P5. Looks to be, though, he's playing that patient game. He's waiting. He's not really wanting to try and take advantage of a mistake just yet, but he's happy to sit right in behind and keep applying the pressure to the rear view mirror of those two cars ahead of him.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%, but I also saw that Matty Webber lifted midway through that turn sort of 6 to 9 complex just to slot in behind Mason and let him give him the spot. So he didn't fight it all the way through. I think he made a little bit of lift, slotted in, and that was the conservation that we were talking about earlier on, is just put yourself in the position. Now, these guys have the luxury of being in the top 10, but even if you're in the sort of 20 to 25, that's where you are in the race, right? So put yourself in the position, get yourself going, get your rhythm going, and then fight to move forward, or fight for strategy to move forward. Rather than sort of just trying to get it all in the first lap. But anyway, that was some absolutely fantastic racing. What I really loved seeing that was when James Mason and Matty Webber went side by side, they gave each other racing room. They gave each other space within the white lines of the track. They made room for each other, and one of them lifted, conceded, and made it. And they said, long way to go. We'll play this again another game. That is top-notch racing, mate. That is stuff I love seeing in motorsport.
It's a really great example of, for lack of a better term, gentlemanly agreement amongst racers and amongst a battle as well. We saw another example of it just at turn 1 at the start of this lap. As Stapleton looked to get on the inside of Gretsch. Gretsch just let him have it in the end. He's like, you know what? We're so early in this race, it's not worth me battling for this. Like, we're going to get the checkered flag at the end of the next 4 or so kilometers when we come back around to the start finish line. Again, one of those drivers doing well. Rue Koister has had another incident. I don't know if he's just dropping positions because of an issue on track or what. Ben Brooks also dropping positions as well. So there's a multitude of drivers who are getting caught up in incidents in the early stages of this race. The Frog Leap Juice Racing car of Brook, it's back on the road down there at turn 5. This is how it went round. Look at that, Koistra in behind him. So has there been contact made between them, or Koistra is going, that's a very late dive and straight into the side of Brook there. I don't think he was far enough up, Pete, and I know you've done a lot of race control work in your time. Could be a penalty coming the way of Koistra.
No, it could be. I won't make a call on that because, as a lot of people know, I am actually the appeals judge. So I don't make a call like commentating. It is something that race control do need to look at, and if it comes down to appeals, it's something I'll look at in slow time. So no calls from me, Hamish. That's one of the things I need to.
I'm going to make the claim. Could be a penalty coming the way of Koistra. Then that's my claim.
I'm going to make the claim. Race control need to have a good close look and make a decision.
I think they will. I think they definitely will. The 444 car has also copped a 15-second penalty as well. This battle's starting to heat up with Tristan McLaren, ironically driving an Aston Martin on the road. That almost seems egregious from him to do that as he battles away with Dean Hunt just ahead of him here. Just want to mention as well, a couple laps ago, there was a new fastest lap for Trent Allen. It was a 146.16. His teammate Isaac Curtis has just bettered that, a 146.03. So there's Revolution E-Racing cars at the front of the field are really putting the pressure on each other to do well. But Matt Feely of OPR has got some pressure to apply this Aston Martin of Tristan McLaren as he looks to get it done round the outside, has to lift in the end, can't quite get it. And you see there, Pete, just starting to battle a little bit. You know, nothing too egregious just yet, but they've given up crucial time to Dean Hunt ahead of him, who's now out to nearly 9/10 of a second, and that gap was barely 3/10 at the start of this lap.
Yeah, they are, but again, mate, it's really early in this race, right? We haven't even got 10 minutes, and what I've seen from a couple of drivers, and I saw it just in there, a little lift, I'll give up one spot, and we're still in the race. You know, rather than fight to the death and I lose 25 spots, I'm at the back and I've got to, you know, redo my whole strategy. So, you know, one of the things I always say, and a lot of people, you know, nobody's really disagreed with me or fought with me over it, is you've got to learn to come second sometimes in motorsport. And if you can't learn to come second in motorsport or lose a place in motorsport, you're going to end up fighting until you're at the back of the grid. And to me, that just doesn't make sense, right? If you can come second, you're going to get a better spot than being at the back. And I know we all want to win. That's why we get out there. We want to drive as fast as we can and get it. But if you can't get to the checkered flag as fast as you personally can get to the checkered flag, then you're going to lose, and that's where people go backwards. So anyway, so I've been seeing some of that tonight. It's a nice mature driving, some people pulling out and giving up a spot here or two without giving up the whole race. And that to me is what I love about this Premier Endurance League. There are drivers here that do that, and we get to see it. Fabulous.
We get to see it all over the road for us here this evening as we get our group headers up to see the current standings for the Elite and Challenger class. Curtis, Allen and Mason, the current podium for the Elite class at this stage in time. Robillard, Hunt and McLaren, the top three for the Challenger class at this stage as well. Healy and Hopkins make up the top five of the Challengers. Webber and Caddy make up the top five for the Elite class. We're watching that battle at this stage as it unfolds. It's been going on for the first nearly 15 minutes of this race now as we're settling into our rhythm, as well as we look back to Will Buchanan, who's doing quite well here in the 281 Revolution E-Racing car in P19 at this stage. He's down 3, but he's still within the hunt for the position that he started this race in, Pete. The car looks neat and tidy. Probably gave up a couple of positions early because he wasn't willing to you know, put too much pressure on himself to keep them, as we've been speaking about. Playing a very smart endurance race mindset here this evening. And if Will can continue that for the next hour and 47 minutes, he could find himself in a positive position in this race, possibly even a top 10 come the checkered flag.
Absolutely, and if any of the drivers listen on the broadcast, I'm going to make a really bold call for everybody right now. If there's not a safety car in the next 2 laps, I think we're going to go green to the end of the race, unless we have something really crazy like a blown engine on the track. I think this is going to be a long green flag event, Hamish, and I think you and I are going to have to be looking out for some of the special strategy calls. We're going to have to be looking out for when the pit stops occur, because I tell you what, this is going to start to open up very shortly, and we're at that stage where, you know, the cars are not necessarily side by side, and it's only going to be a couple that come together. So I reckon we're right in that mode where we're about to go green for 2 hours.
Yeah, I think the bubble's about to get popped on the hope for a safety car. That unfortunately for the Bend, it's not really a track that you're almost guaranteed one for the whole race. It's, you know, without getting it in the first 20 minutes, you're probably never going to see the safety car on track, you know, which would be a good time for us to normally shout them out. We'll shout them out anyway, though. Big shout out to Sud Speed Gloves, the safety car sponsor of the league as well. We'd love to see the safety car out on track, thanks to Sud Speed, because it'll really change up the strategy play for a lot of drivers, especially it comes out in between the pit stop periods with certain drivers as well. It could really shake up some strategies. I believe Tim Lawson is at the helm of the safety car. Am I correct, Pete, or is it Scotty Barton?
Scotty Barton's normally the driver, and Tim Lawson's one of the stewards. So, but I know that Tim's a bit of a crook, so they might have mixed it up tonight in the race control. But yeah, no, the Sud Speed guys. Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of it this season, but we have seen it some really telling times at PL. But like I said, I think we're going to be looking forward to mostly a pretty green flag running race. And to be honest, Hamish, I like that, because whilst in a lot of leagues we get a lot of safety cars and it mixes up the race, it makes it really exciting, easier for us, right? So our job's harder without a safety car. But what it does is it gives the drivers in a league race the chance to just go, okay, okay, well, I got 2 hours of green flag racing now. How am I going to approach it? What am I going to do? How am I going to make positions up? What strategy do I need to do? Am I faster? Am I not faster? Do I need to sit in? All of those sorts of things that creep into an endurance race when you know, or in this case they don't know, but they think that it might just go green the whole way. It just changes that perspective of, right, if you think you got a little bit in you, when do you start to really push it?
Well, that's right, and not only when do you start to push it as well, have you got pre-planned strategies as Buchanan round the outside of Glenn Hopkins there in the Tasman Racing entry? That's a good move from Will as Brad Coates battles away with one of the only Acuras in the field, Jake Robillard, the leader of the Challenger class at the moment. If you're further back in the field or you've been caught up in an incident early, maybe you take that alternate strategy. Maybe you take that gamble with the hopes that it could reinvigorate your race. It could give you a chance to get back up towards the top 10 again and just maybe stay out of trouble a little bit more, because sometimes the non-obvious stop is the better stop. Other times as well, we know that the obvious stop is the better stop as well. So that's often, it can go either way. It's a balancing act at the end of the day when it comes to sports car racing and endurance racing as well. One factor though that I do think we probably need to speak about, Pete, is the off tracks here at the Bend. That could play a factor as well throughout this 2-hour event, because if drivers are not being conservative with their off tracks around here, we could see them end up with some iRacing black flags, having to traverse through pit lane if they're not careful.
Oh, absolutely. And the Bend is kind of like Spa, right? Spa is one of those tracks where it's really easy to come around a corner and you just take the car just outside the track limits. The Bend is very much like that. There's a couple of corners where you can just go a little bit too hard, and one corner, it's won by, and it's at 1 point, but 1 point adds up over 40 laps, right? Over 60 laps. And you don't want to drive through just for those little things of trying to go a little bit too fast. So I might see if I can get us a little bit more info on those off tracks, Hamish. I'll come back to you very shortly.
No worries at all. This battle's starting to heat up though, with Kurt Chapman battling away with Ed Adcock ahead of him. Kurt's been all around the block in terms of the Australian sim racing scene as he sends it up the inside on board that Mustang. Job done. What a great move from Kurt Chapman. To give you a little bit of background on him, of course, he's the current defending IRWC Rodnock Cup champion at this stage. He's driven in Porsche Cups and supercars as well. He's got a whole heap of different categories under his belt. And for Project 36 and himself, he'll be hoping to do well this season. Greg Brooks of ARTT Revolution E-Racing, of course, he's also got a whole heap of different experience in different car types, open wheelers and supercars, and of course GTs as well. So he'll be hoping to keep the pressure on them too. Here comes Buchanan down the main straight. This guy is on absolute fire and getting his positions back in this race. He's back up to where he started in P16, and now he's tucked right ahead of Patrick Reardon. And as he looks to chase down Luke Caposa, well, he'll be looking to get on the positive in terms of positions gained, as Greg Brooks, well, he wants to do what his teammate did. Couldn't quite get there on Ed Adcock that time by. There's a whole heap of little moving parts across this race, a whole heap of little gears that are starting to form into a beautiful piece of art for us in this race here at the Bend. And I think we're only just about 20 minutes into it, as here comes Brooks out the inside at turn 5, under brakes. Can he get this thing pulled up around Ed Adcock? He wants to do what Chapman did on the last lap. Nearly goes door to door with him through there. Does he get the round of the corner? Not just quite. And he's going to have to wait for another opportunity to get the Kibby Graphics car past him if he can. But, well, he's just ever so slightly trying to push that car to a more positive position. Here comes Webber, though. He has still got Caddy in behind him. There's a slower car on the side of the road there. That was Nathaniel Coburn there going slow. Not sure what's happened to him. Possibly an incident. Oh, my God. I thought he could smell what Webber had for breakfast then, getting ever so close and tucking right up in behind. That there was a wild moment for him. But, well, Pete, this is starting to intensify for some of these drivers, and you get the feeling they can only battle for so long before they have it coming together, and we may see some cars off the track.
I don't know, Hamish, did they just hear us say it's going to go green all the way, you better get your foot down? Because I'll tell you what, they've just jumped in and started racing, right? But again, I'm going to call it out, really good side-by-side stuff and giving each other track room. That's the stuff that I think is brilliant racing. So, I will call out every time I see it. If drivers go side by side and they come out the back end and, they haven't had a crash, but they've raced and they've challenged each other, because at the end of the day, they're going to get another go if one car's faster than the other. So really, really good to see. I'm loving to see that. And I think these guys are putting on a show that a lot of people who do iRacing need to have a look at.
One of the beauties of the Bend is you get a lot of passing opportunities around this place, but it's also easy to defend position. It's a lot like Sandown in that sense. You can set yourself up to try and make a move, but the car ahead of you can also set up a defensive regiment as well and get themselves into a beneficiary position too. To give the update on that incident earlier on between Rue Koistra and Ben Brook, 25-second penalty coming the way of Rue Koistra because of that one. So the 2.52 is about to lose 2.5 seconds against his name in this race. But for Brock Caddy, I feel like Brock may be having nightmares tonight as we go back to Will Buchanan battling away here with Luke Caposa. He might have nightmares tonight about the rear of that Mustang, Pete, if he can't get past him very quickly. And if Will can't get past Caposa, he might be dreaming about Mustang rear ends as well.
Yeah, well, you might as well. I mean, it's a good battle, and I think it's going to be a battle that stays there for a long time. So, at least they know that there's 3 lights on the back of the Mustang, and they all light up at the same time. Plenty to see. Some of the other cars have very limited brake lights. That new Aston Martin only has a little cup, little slit little brake lights at the front of it. So something to behold. But yeah, those Mustangs up the front, mate, we've talked about it. It's going to keep coming up, I think, until BOP change. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. Hey, we had a couple of good things. We said that Mark Fosder, old Fozzie, where is he? We haven't seen him tonight. He's my old lime green Mark Fozzie man in the Challenger class. Been complaining about the track for the past week. So obviously for Mr. Foster, I'll give it a take over.
Matty Feely, 3 wide stuff off the exit. Caposa and Feely want the move. Buchanan is tucked up right behind them. Look at the action as they all make a bit of contact, and Buchanan wants to make it 4 wide into turn 5 under brakes. Somehow it's worked out. He got past Caposa. Feely got left out to dry. Can he get the 2 for 1 through 6? Surely not on the Aston Martin of Tristan McLaren. Oh, he can indeed. 3 positions in the span of 3 quarters for Will Buchanan. Take your hat off, sir. That is an incredible move for him. Patience personified. You could see it from a mile away that it was going to end in tears for those 3 cars. And now the ARTT Revolution e-racing car is 3 spots away from a top 10 spot. But Feely and McLaren will want to try and get through this. Caposa lost an extra one to Patrick Reardon through all that as well. So it's starting to go off in the midfield. And it's starting to go off for Sheep Stations as well. We've still got 96 minutes and 48 seconds to go. There's so much more racing to come our way, but it feels like a sprint race at this time with the sort of battling we've got on screen.
We have got a long, long way to go, Hamish, and we haven't even got near the first pit stop yet. We've had a couple of, I think, unfortunate pitters, but those are guys that had incidents in the race so far. But I tell you what, we haven't come to the first pit stop cycle. We have got cars that are within a second, and there's lots of them, and we just saw a lot of it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think Luke Caposa lost out a little bit from Patrick Reardon. He got pushed out onto the grass, and that cost him a little bit more time and probably a position he didn't need to lose. But anyway, it was good to see him. He just, go back up there, and the guys are still in it. So I don't think this fight's over, and that Revolution car it's Will Buchanan at the front. I think that Revolution car might pull away a little bit, but it's the Aston Martin that seems to be the plug there that Tristan McLaren is driving. Yeah,
he's becoming a bit of a cork in the bottle at this stage for Matty Feely, and Feely be hoping to get past him as soon as possible. Caddy, well, he's got 2 corks right in front of him as he runs it way wide on the exit there, and that little bump in the road there. I've had a couple of instances of mentioning it as the battle pack we were focusing on before with Matt Feely as they come up towards it as well. That little bump in the road there, which is obviously a part of the endurance layout, Pete, you'll see it on the right hand side of the screen here. It almost looks like something from an upper chest area when you look at it overhead. It's something on the circuit, but Matty Feely with Tristan McLaren, and that Aston Martin is about as wide as the Great Wall of China right now in front of the OPR Mustang. Feely will be getting frustrated. He's up 14 spots in this race. It has been an incredible gain for Matt Feely, but he's not going to make up a 15th if he can't get past this McLaren. He's got to try and get that move done, but he cannot let himself get frustrated and make a short and last-second decision. He's got to plan around it. Whether he plans for it in the pit stop, that might be the go-ahead here. Maybe go for an undercut, just pit slightly early. You're going to have to do a splash at the end anyway. Just coming a bit early, get out of the battle, and just get into your own little zone on the circuit as he is tucked right underneath the rear wing. You'd think he's going camping. He's parked his tent right behind it there. Outside line at turn 1 on the dirty side of the road. Will he get the grip into turn 2? Here comes Matt Feely of OPR. And the Stimbriggs entry, he got a bit loose on the exit of turn 2. Couldn't quite get there. And I can almost feel the frustration coming off of that Mustang, Pete. I feel like Feely right now, his head might be about as orange as the front end of that car.
Might be, but he's also...
Contact! Big contact. And you felt it was going to happen, Pete, didn't you? From the way they were going about it, you felt it was going to come around eventually.
Oh, absolutely. It was coming around. And I was just about to say, Matt's just got to be a little bit patient and a little bit smarter and understand which corner he's going to make the pass at, because it's not every corner you can pass. And he had the pace, and I think he still got the pace. He'll be able to get back up there. That was just a little bit of a touch, and he lost, 5-6 positions. But he's still be able to get up there. But my point was, you can't just say, it's a corner I'm going to overtake. On this track, there's about 3 spots, like really genuine spots. So there's turn 1, there's turn 6, and it's turn 16. They're the 3 key spots to overtake. And what the drivers need to be doing, they're going to be smart enough to recognise those overtaking spots and work to set themselves up for that. Even if they're a little bit faster through some other corners, they might, if they put themselves in position through the other corners where you're not going to really overtake, but you're still a bit faster, you end up losing time. This is where really smart drivers prevail. And I think that we just saw Matty Feely lose that opportunity, and I think he needs to just recoup and then have a think about that from that perspective. So we're back in there, we're back into turn 1, and it looks like that Paddy Reardon, or Luke Caprosa, has just made a spot there.
He's done well at the inside at turn 1 over Reardon, so Caposa gets through. The next car has a target on its back from him. Well, it is the famed Aston Martin at this point of Tristan McLaren. As we're about to see, this was the moment with Matty Feely, with Tristan McLaren. So he tries to set him up at the outside under the braking zone. They bang doors a little bit. Feely gets loose, and then they make another contact down into the corner, and off the road he goes. We'll have to wait and see if there's any contact or possibly any penalties, or any damage to say, or any penalties to come off of that one. But at the moment, well, Feely crumbled under the pressure just a little bit there as he right on board with Kurt Chapman. Project 36 in behind Digital Motorsport Team's Mark Foster in the battle for P18. Foster up 9 positions at the moment. Chapman up 4. It's an inter-challenger class battle as they ride up towards the back end of the circuit. Little wide run though into the sand trap, going to get the tyres a bit dirty, but the battling has been rather clean thus far. Only a few little dirty moments. Here comes Caddy with a slowdown. He's just lost the spot to Owen Coleman. He's copped that at the final corner, and that is a big moment in this race as Caposa up the inside of the Aston Martin. Can he get the job done on the Everything Simulator racing car? Turn 18, sure he can. And here comes Tristan McLaren, almost going to lose it into Patrick Reardon. It'll be a drag race to turn 1. Mustang versus Aston Martin. The Porsche wants to get involved as well of Glenn Hopkins. It's 4 wide nearly into turn 1. The Mustang of Kurt Chapman backs out in the end. Inside line goes Patrick Reardon on Tristan McLaren. Still side by side through turn 2. Neck code contact, and they're both gone. Off at turn 3, there was a bit of contact through what looked to be about a world of netcode on the back end of that Mustang, and then secondary contacts taking them both out in the end of it. And Pete, from the looks of it there, well, that's what happens with intense racing. Eventually the tent falls over and you need to try and pick it back up again.
got to tell you, that was really, really good racing. We talked about, picking a corner to overtake and 15-16 complex. That's what happened. We then got a big mix-up into the turn one, overtaking. Cars were so close together, and I think you're right. I think you called it on the nose, spot on. I think there's a whole lot of netcode in there, and that's just a case of, unfortunately, simulator cars getting a little bit too close together and PCs taking over. And unfortunately, a couple of guys that have been racing hard are going to lose some spots over that. But the race really hasn't opened up that much. All we've seen Tristan McLaren drop back a bit in the Aston Martin, but the other cars, they're all still close together. But let's watch this nice and closely. None of the cars, there's no driving infringement here. It's all nice and close. That is a massive, massive big netcode there. And unfortunately, the two cars lose a lot of positions because of it. But they were both racing so well and so respectfully. So unfortunate for the drivers. So look, at the end of the day, hopefully, fingers crossed. I think we're about to come up very shortly, probably in about another 9 minutes, so about another 4 laps or so. We're going to start to see our first round of pit stops.
Yeah, I don't think there was any malice in any of that incident there. I think when you're battling so close, eventually the percentages don't go your way, and a bit of contact can be made, whether it's malicious or not. It's just unfortunate. The clouds, though, have really started to take over the skies here in Tailem Bend. It's just darkened up a fair bit. 28 degrees track temp now, so he's dropped 2 degrees. Still 39% precipitation. 0% rain, though. 0% rain, it says on that little pop out for us there. But what we've been seeing throughout this race, though, Pete, and we mentioned it quite a lot, it's been fantastic racing. But through that fantastic racing, it's also just been, a bit tough for some drivers out there as well. And I think, some little incidents here or there. There's been some incidents where people have made mistakes and they've caused incidents. There's ones we just saw then, as we ride here with Martin Hallinan, where it's just two cars getting interlocked together, and that's racing. That often happens. Drivers get interlocked. You're racing door to door for so long, the percentage goes up the more laps and the more corners you are side by side that you're going to make contact. And it's very rare that a battle that goes on for so long comes away, unscathed at all, as James Mason is in.
And Hamish, you call a lot of the split 2 V8 vets racing, and we got 30 cars in that field that are within a second at any track that we go to, and those cars always end up end and side by side. So to see that with GT3 cars is something special, and to see that in a field where the spread is a little bit larger over the field, but to see the guys coming together and racing so respectfully, there's nothing better as a race driver than doing that for lap after lap with another driver, racing side by side. You win some, you lose some, and even if at the end of the day, the person that you might win some and lose some with, if they finish, they finish the race one spot in front of you, you can just go back and just go, hey, that was just so much fun. If you can manage to do that for lap after lap after lap. But what happens is inevitably, sometimes the sim gets in and you get that netcode contact. And I hope there's no animosity between those drivers, because essentially that was just the sim taking over, because they all gave each other space. And what I'm saying in this whole race tonight is nearly always, there's a couple of penalties, so that's drivers having to go. But what we're saying is mostly it's really, really good racing, and those guys that are having to go, and particularly through that sort of 5-6 complex, we're seeing drivers side by side. I think we've got a pit stop coming up, Hamish. Over to you.
Race leaders are in. Isaac Curtis and Trent Allen into pit lane. There are a couple of other drivers that pitted the lap prior as well. Coleman and Caddy in too. So we said that 60% fuel would get to about 40 minutes into this race. So maybe just pitting a little bit earlier to offset the pit stops just a little bit. Maybe to get a proper full pit stop in almost at the end of the race. But there's a bunch of cars in. Trott and Coates have stayed out. We'll see if Caposa stays out as well, as we ride on board with Rob Allard, the leader of the Challenger class at the moment. Adcock, does he come into pit lane? Yes, he does. So majority of this field coming in. We'll see if there's any undercuts that could possibly be pulled off here from some drivers, such as James Mason in the McLaren, who pitted on lap 18, possibly Glenn Hopkins as well, or even a few others further back in the field who came in only a lap ago. So, we know how strong an undercut can be when you can pull it off proper. Unfortunately, though, Pete, when it comes to tracks where you're on the north side of 1 minute and 30 seconds for the lap times, they're less effective than some of those shorter circuits.
Yeah, no, they can be. And also, because it's such a long race, there's an element, if you can fuel save on the first 2 stops, there is an element of saving time in the last pit stop if you won't have a splash for those. And we've got about 4 or 5 drivers. We've got John Trott, Brad Coates, Isaac Norman, Tristan McLaren, and Greg Heaney have all kept going. So those guys have stayed out, and they look like they've gained massive positions right now, but I expect them to come in at the end of either this lap or another lap, depends on how much fuel they have managed to save. But the fuel saving doesn't look good always straight up, but it's at the end of the race where it can pay off. So we've got a few drivers now just to keep an eye on and see whether, if they fuel save for twice, 2 pit stops, then whether that pays off at the end of the race.
Well, there's a couple other drivers as well who's just run way wide. That there looked to be the car of, that wasn't Dean Hunt, was it, that ran wide then for Frogleaf Juice Racing? Surely not, because Ben Brooks said it's about, actually I think it was Jesse McMenamin. It was Jesse McMenamin who ran wide. He's yet to come into pit lane. Trent Stapleton has come into pit lane. He's amongst these 3 cars who are yet to come in. Brooke, Saxon and McMenamin are those 3 cars that need to come through pit road. John Trott's in. Isaac Norman has gone off track further up the field inside of the top 5 of those cars who've not come into pit road just yet. I think he's gotten going again on board that Ferrari for Odyssey Racing. We saw him off the track earlier in the night, Pete, as he comes into pit lane now. So does Greg Heaney and Tristan McLaren. Brad Coates has gone another lap on board the Revolution E-Racing McLaren. So right now, RER leading the pack, all 3 on the podium, but Brad needs to come into pit lane eventually. And I think right now, Isaac Curtis and Trent Allen, who've done a swapsy in the pit road, well, Isaac there was just trying to get those tyres warmed up.
But Brad Coates going 2 laps more than everybody else. Now, that is telling. That now makes Brad somebody to look out for at the end of the race, because he's going to have a longer pit stop. He's going to have an extra 2 laps of fuel just to put in now. But if he's managing to save that fuel, Hamish, then potentially that's 4 laps less of fuel in the last pit stop. And, come that random safety car we talked about, that's a massive advantage. So let's keep an eye on Brad Coates. I might note his name and number down, and we'll see whether he can sort of, pull out something special from that.
We've got Pete keeping track of him, and Biggles in the background just giving us a little nod of he's on Pete's naughty list. He's checking it twice, making sure if he's naughty or nice. But Dean Hunt at the moment battling away here with Adrian Gretsch. This is all for P11 on the road. Corrected order, it's P10 as Brad Coates comes into pit lane. So the race leader is in, and he should then give us our corrected race order. The other cars who didn't come in just yet are in now as well. So Brooke, Saxon, Jones, McMenamin, O'Loughlin, Mellis, Simpson, McClement. They're all into pit road now at this stage as well. So we'll see where Brad ends up, but corrected, it's going to be Allen to Curtis to Webber for our current elite podium. The challenger podium, Robillard, Hunt and Chapman. Chapman's had a good race thus far, beat up 9 spots. He's been really improving in these proper circuit races. As I said, he's a talented oval racer. It's circuit racing where he's looking to get better.
Yeah, the thing that's standing out to me in terms of the challenges, though, Rebillard, he qualified, I think it was 5th or 6th, if I remember right. He was right up there in terms of the elites. He was stood out there. But after that first turn incident, dropped down to about 10th, but has maintained it. And that, to me, has stood out. The ability to maintain it after, what is essentially a first lap, shuffling. And stay out in front. So he's obviously got a little bit of pace there, Mr. Rebillard. And we've got Hunt and Chapman to chase him down. And then, old mate Foster and Hamish haven't been around all right, but Mr. Fossey, in the first series of Premier Endurance League, he had his car painted in the perfect lime colour, almost the lime that we got.
Here comes a big send, from Owen Coleman. Fozzie sounds like a bit of a cult hero amongst PEL, Pete. That's what I'm getting off of that one there. And as Owen Coleman battles away here with John Trott for a top 4 position. Trott up 4 positions at this stage of the race. A cracking effort from the OPR driver. As we've just ended our first pit stop period, want to give a big shout out to some of the other sponsors of the league as well, including Kibby Graphics, of course, branded clothing, car ups and commercial graphics coming your way. You can visit them akimigraphics.com.au, and as well to Sim Racing in Focus, podcast focused on sim racing. The latest episode, when you know it, it's an interview with me, Hamish Munro. You can go check them out over on facebook.com/Sim Racing in Focus. You find them on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify as well. And once again, big shout out to the main series sponsor too, Dash Off-Road, 4x4 parts and accessory store. You can visit them at www.dashoffroad.com.au. And as well to our safety car sponsor, which we've not seen just yet tonight, SidSpeed Gloves, premium sim racing gloves for sim car, a sim racer made by sim racers. You can visit them at www.sidspeed.com. Please use SidSpeed safety car to reference it whenever we meet them on track. And well, hopefully we meet them on track tonight, so we can say the words SidSpeed safety car.
I think you've already said it, but
I have said the allotted amount tonight. I feel we don't need a safety car now, Pete. I think we're good.
No, we've only just done the first stop, so we're not.
Running it wide down there. We've got questions of what happened to Root in this race. Earlier on, we'll get the images up on screen for you. Went for a move down and towards turn 5. So this was the earliest incident of him. This was a lap 1. So he ended up going further back in the field off the race start. Got loose after starting inside of the top 10. There was no contact. He did that all on his own. But then he made his night just a little bit worse for himself, unfortunately. He went for a move down and towards turn 5 and then made contact. We'll see those images in a second once we've got them up for you here, as we see Glenn Hopkins battling away with the Whiskey Runners racing entry of Sean Benici, the American. Of course, Sean based out of Alaska over in the US, getting up at all sorts of hours to come racing with us Australians. He does the business, races in a multitude of leagues, obviously here in PL as well as in SRW and the GSRC too. And he is a very committed sim racer, not just for the US leagues, but mainly Australian leagues, ironically. And well, for this current time period, we've just come out of winter, which is a time period in Alaska where they have nearly 24 hours of daylight a day. So he's doing everything that he can to come racing with us, and big shout out to Sean and all the other Americans that come racing with us too. We know, of course, of Stacey Boyd, who gets up early in the morning to come racing with us. I've experience of calling Colby Warren races as well, and many others of the internationals who come racing with us here in the Australian sim racing scene. And it's a massive thank you to them for coming and being a part of it. It's one of the best communities in the world. So this is what also happened to him later in the race. So we'll see Rue as he comes down towards turn 5, gets under brakes, looks to go for a move on Ben Brook, and unfortunately Ben never saw him coming. It was a very late dive. Contact was made. That then gave Rue a 25-second penalty from race control for that contact there in that incident. So that's what's happened to Rue across the night. As we follow back along with Luke Caposa as he battles here with Ben Wilkes just ahead of him, an inter-class battle here between an elite driver and a challenger, as well as Caposa goes up the inside in turn 1. Makes it look easy over the Porsche. As we see the current running order of things for both the grouped entries, the top 5 for the elites, it's Allen, Curtis, Webber, Trott, and Caddy. For the challengers, it's Robillard, Hunt, Chapman, Feely, and Foster. It's been a fantastic race thus far. And obviously, Pete, with regular endurance racing, and even with this now, we're seeing the example of this. Once we get that first pit stop, that's when the field starts to spread a little bit, as Nick Botchell's gone off in the Everything Simulator Racing entry. So it's still going off here for some drivers, as that in the background there was one of the Whiskey Business Racing cars of Luke King, who's just gone off. Give the inside scoop, I was pointing at it like I could show you from my end, by the way. It's not how it works.
Now, interesting. That is very, very funny. You're pointing at your screen about who's going off, while telling us somebody else is going off. And also, we got Cher, who's Rue's mum, by the way. That's who's asking questions. Asking about where Rue is. And whilst we've told him what's happened, we haven't told Cher where he is in the race right now. But those big names, Nick Botchwell, that's not a name that I'm used to calling going off track and getting into the grass. So unusual there for Nick. So maybe that's something, I don't know. If we can find a replay, we'll see whether that was happening or not. But for Cher, Rue is currently running P24. He's had his first pit stop, so he's fought himself back quite a way. He's back in the fight. He's not out of the race whatsoever. A safety car was obviously getting back up into the fight, but running P24. He is in the race and still going strong. So served his penalty, served his pit stop, and away he goes.
Yep, so here's Root, P24 at the moment. So he's down 18 positions, started P6 in this race, but he's still running strong here. Still plenty of time for him to make a comeback claim across the next hour and 15 minutes. And the old look mum, I'm on TV. So there's Root for you, Share. Brock Caddy is still in a tight battle here with John Trott. He's got Owen Coleman in behind him as well. So this battle for P4 is not over just yet. Here comes Buchanan. He's got 3 positions thus far. He wants to make it a 4th as he battles here with Dean Hunt for Frog Leap Juice Racing just ahead of him. And Buchanan has been one of the focus points tonight because he's been really aggressive on some of the moves he's made. Up the inside he goes. The McLaren caught on the left-hand side of the circuit with the Beamer on the other side. Through comes Buchanan. Great move made. That's a 4th spot gain, and it's P12 in this race thus far. And the point I was going to make before, I'm going to have to wait again because I think Gretsch is going for it. No, he's going to wait. The point I was going to make before, as we come up the main straight with Owen Coleman, is it's quite interesting how through the pit stops the field can start to spread, but we've still got some tight battle packs here. And even though the field is spread, they'll come back together again when the strategies come together. As Coleman claims P5 from Brock Caddy in through turn 1. Here comes Adrian Gretsch. He's going to be forced a long way around if he wants to get past Jake Robillard of Everything Simulated Racing. He tightens up the line that Gretsch could possibly take. Cuts off the switchback as well. Great defensive acumen from the Challenger class leader. And Gretsch cannot quite find it just yet. So here's our current pit stop time. See, there's a little bit of ebbing and flowing between cars. Trent Allen, one of the longest stoppers at 27 seconds. See, Capoza took a 28-second stop. Benici, 27.4 as well. So there's a couple of longer stops. The lowest we're really seeing is around about the 24-second mark, and not anything less than that. So the majority of times, within about 3 seconds, they're on the board. So that 3 seconds could be a make or break in your race. It could also come down to the car type as well. It might just not be able to, take as much fuel because it doesn't use quite as much, or you've saved a little bit more. They can often be the differences. We can see as well with the gains, Feely up 14, Foster up 10, Benici up 12, Bottrell up 10. They're the biggest gainers thus far. And the only gainers in the double digits outside of Leith McClement back in P37, who's currently up 12 spots in this race, and unfortunately not able to situate on the tower at this stage. But this battle's really starting to heat up, Pete. This race has been heating up as well. And as I said, we're probably going to get a whole lot more battle packs coming together come the end of this race when the pit stop strategies start to sync up and we see drivers starting to get back together again as Coleman looks for it in towards turn 1 on John Trott. OPR and Digital Motorsport team. Can he get the job done? He looks to get it done. Brock Caddy wants a 2-for-1 special as well. Jumps the sausage curb into 1. Somehow got it pulled up and got it past Trott. And unfortunately for John, through the span of 1 corner, he's dropped 2 positions in this race.
I've got to tell you, I don't know how Brock Caddy survived that without either spinning himself or spinning somebody else. But Hamish, we talked about the pit stop times. The thing that stands out to me about those pit stop times, everybody except for one driver took tyres. The one driver that hasn't taken tyres on their first pit stop is Dale Atkins down in P39, but he pitted on lap 9, not lap 19 or 20, which is when the majority of people pitted. So Dale did a 13-second pit stop, which was fuel only, back in 9. So he's out of strategy. Everybody else is on the same strategy, full fuel, full tyres for this pit stop. We'll see whether there's a fuel only tyres pit stop, so get some track position in the next one. I think you're right. You've been saying it all races, where regardless of where we are, we're still going to see cars come together as the race continues and as the pit stops bring everybody together. But right now, I think everybody's on the same seat except for one.
Yep, Gretsch gets up the inside of Robillard there, so that's P9 for Gretsch now, and they're down 1 spot in this race. And if you're Robillard, well, you're probably thinking, why am I defending this at the moment? I've got nearly 4 seconds back to the nearest car in class. I know he wants to try and get a top 10. He's got 2 cars separating him and the car for position in his class. That would be Dean Hunt, who's much further back as Coates almost drills the rear end of the Acura just ahead of him there. I think for Atkins, Pete, you mentioned him, he pitted on lap 9. very likely just took the splash early, and Buchanan's getting in on this too, so he's been one of our gainers thus far. We've been focused up on him throughout this race. Atkins may now, we mentioned he's on alternate strategy. That could be his splash. He might be able to get home here with only one more stop, possibly, and it might be okay to get home. If he can make it, no, it'd be 2 more stops, but if he can get to the crucial markers in this race, so he could still get a good position out of it. He is up 3. He could gain some more, though, through the pit stops.
Oh, no, Hamish, without a doubt, we are still 2 stops to the end from here. For most drivers, it's a full stop and a splash. For Dale Atkins...
What I would expect is then, he's probably going to be in the next lap or two, because he pitted on lap 9 and we're currently at lap 28, so we may actually see him in the next few moments. That then will offset him to go till the 20 or roughly the half an hour mark in this race. So he'll be able to take a slightly shorter stop on that final stop in the race. So he may actually be able to make up some positions here come the latter portion of this race. Buchanan's now gotten past his teammate Coates. He's going to start to put pressure on that Acura of Robillard ahead of him. Well, Buchanan here looks to be on the gains, and right now he's doing exactly what I said he could do, is keep it clean, keep it mean, and get a top 10 spot as Robillard runs it wide again. And here comes Buchanan, top 10 spot for him. Has to make sure that he keeps it on the tarmac if he can, and keep that BMW in the gains. He wants to drag his teammate Brad Coates with him, and Coates will want an inside line here on the Acura if he can get it done. Buchanan may play some teamwork to hold off Robillard there, and through comes Coates, 2 for 1 for Revolution E-Racing, and they've got 2 cars now on the precipice of 4 inside of the top 10, with the top 2 of Allen and Curtis leading the way.
I tell you what, Hamish, that was some sensational driving. I don't know about you, but whenever I put a car on the grass or on the white lights, it sounds so hard to take control of. So to be able to achieve an overtake whilst having most of the car off the track is kind of sensational. That was really, really good driving.
Pete, there's a reason why the 2 races I do a year are either at Daytona or at Watkins Glen. You know why? There's barely any grass you can go onto at those 2 tracks. It just so happens that my 2 favourite special events, the Raw and the Watkins 6-hour, go to those tracks. But regardless, I just spent too much time getting in grass at Road Atlanta and decided, we're going to have a break from it for a while. But James Mason at this stage battling away here with Trent Stapleton. That's big contact with Sean Benici off the road. And off goes the Whiskey Business Racing car, as he gets back up and running again on board the Bowens entry. Here comes Rue up the inside of Martin Hallinan and takes the position for P21, now down 15 in this race. So he's on the comeback train still. He's got good pace at the moment here, Pete. And with an hour or just a little over an hour left in this race, there's still opportunity for him to get back up towards the top 10, just based on how many positions were gained by some other drivers, as you see the replay of Sean. So as he comes down towards turn 3, I think, was there contact with the car behind? No, he lost it on his own. Big tank slapper. Mustang had nowhere to go. And off goes Benici. It's a real shame for the 999 car.
Yeah, but look, Hamish, let's put this into perspective. We're not even halfway through this race yet, right? So a little bit of an off. Sean's got plenty of time to get back in. Oh, there we go. Isaac Norman's having a little bit of an off right now as well. I think that might have been self-induced as well, but we'll find out on a replay. But we haven't got halfway through this race yet. We got 2 stops to go for every driver, and we're calling it like it's the end of the race. Nowhere near it. So this is so much more to go. We
are nowhere near the end of this race, and it's been a real race of at least one half thus far, as Isaac Norman goes off the road again in that Ferrari. He's really struggling for grip in that car. As we head back to the battle with Tristan McLaren and Martin Hallinan here. This is the battle for P22 on the road at this stage, and both cars have had they've been in the wars a little bit tonight, Pete, and both cars have got a little bit of damage on the front of them. Of course, Hallinan, contact that was not his fault. There was a car that pretty much filled up his windscreen. Couldn't really help but make contact at the front end. And then McLaren caught up in another incident thanks to some netcode earlier on. But Norman is just trying to eke his way through these battles. He's got Uden in behind, Brooks ahead, Bottrell ahead as well. Tight battle pack here in the battle for P28 on the road. So there's battles all throughout the field. And, well, we've been keeping an eye on a heap of them. And all of them have been top level and top level intensity too. So it's been a fantastic case for this race. And, well, if you've joined us, of course, throughout this race thus far for the first half, or if you're just joining us now, well, you've been in for a little while as well. If you've seen a few races prior to now, or it's the first time you're here tonight and you haven't done so already, hit the like button, the subscribe, the bell icon as well, so you're notified whenever we go racing. And right now, Will Buchanan wants to be notified of another position gained on the timing tower as he comes in towards turn 1 on Adrian Gretsch. Make it 7 for Buchanan. He goes 6-7 on the positions gained in this race, and now looks to chase down James Mason and make it a P8 position for the ARTT Revolution e-racing car. If Coates can get past Gretsch, that's 4 RER cars inside of the top 10 at only the halfway point of this race. It is an incredible run for those guys, and, well, it looks to be that they want some more in the next 60 minutes. Ooh. As Mason is battling away here with Trent Stapleton. There's been a couple of incidents all around the circuit thus far tonight. Sam Lambert's just had an incident here on lap 30 as we get on to lap 31. And Norman is really heating up his attack, but he's just dropped down past and below Chris Ruddle of Sud Speed Auto Sport. As Chapman continues to battle away here with Dean Hunt, both cars up 9 positions in this race for Project 36 and Frog Leap Juice Racing, respectively. You asked me a question at the start of the night, Pete, about my opinions on the endurance layout and its pros and cons. The biggest con for me, as we see what happened with Sam Lambert, this is back on lap 30. Oh, he just ran it a bit deep down there under brakes and got it back under a wagon. Yeah, the biggest con for me is the fact that it's over 3 minutes a lap. Pete, that's the biggest con for me for the endurance layout, and the fact that you can get halfway around and get lost. You got no idea where you are. Unless you do multiple laps. It's a little bit like the Nürburgring in a sense. You just get lost with where you are, and unless you do a lot of laps, you know. And for my money, I feel the international layout is the better layout. You know, it's a good, decent lap length. You know, nearly 2 minutes in some cars. You know, not many will get around about 90 seconds around here. I think it's a brilliant lap length for a lot of different racing, you know, series out there. For the slower class of car, you could take the slightly adjusted international layout, which I believe is the West layout, which kind of cuts out the big double right-hander. I think that's the one that gives you a bit better racing. But the endurance one it's tough for a reason, and it's, you know, it's got over, I think it's over 30 corners, isn't it, Pete? So, you know, it's definitely not an easy one to tame.
Yeah, look, I love my Nürburgring, and I love the Nordschleife. So, always very happy to get onto a track that is like just a long track for a long race. But anyway, we are seeing drivers. I don't know, Hamish. It's 1 hour. We're seeing drivers that look like they're having fatigue. They're either trying to overdrive.
Now, is it
do too much right now? Too early.
Yeah. Is it maybe the drivers? And I'm not 100% sure on the complete entry list of today's event, but is it maybe the drivers who took part in the 1000 earlier? Is that maybe a case of it? Like they're really fatigued from the night earlier on? I mean, the one that has it easiest out of all of them is Trent Allen, because he's at the front of the field. He's unchallenged. He's come off a race win with James Scott. So he's sitting pretty. And the other drivers who took part in the 1000, they could be really feeling that fatigue issues right now. As Bottrell, this was the incident we saw with him and how he went off track. It's a wild slide on board the Acura for the NSX, and well, he ended up in no man's land. I know that Honda make lawnmowers. I didn't know they make a GT spec lawnmower though. Well,
they're pretty good lawnmowers, but anyway, I am surprised because Nick Bottrell normally is very, very reliable in terms of getting to the end of these races.
He's hitting the berms like a Honda CRX 500. I mean, he's absolutely sent it through there. But Kurt Chapman, I've got to say, I mean, I'm a bit disappointed that he doesn't have the Project 36 livery on that car, because it is gorgeous. If you've ever seen it, it looks like a pencil case of highlighters. It looks fantastic. It looks good. It's got some pink, it's got some highlighted yellow, it's got some black. It looks fantastic for Project 36. Trent Allen, though, is doing fantastic effort at the front of the field here, and well, what a Sunday it would be for him. He'd remember the date pretty well, Pete, of the 21st of September 2025, because it could be the day that he goes back-to-back in race wins, the same day as Koistra has had a moment further back in the field. And you have a sense that now that one domino fell, the rest of them are coming in strides as well, Pete.
Yeah, Cher, you might want to look away. Rue's not having a good night. In fact, I tell you what, Cher, just blame it on me. I didn't commentate last race, and Rue had a blinder, and he obviously came in second. So tonight, me being here, he hasn't had a good race, and a couple of things, a bit self-induced, I think, in some of them. A couple of them, in fact, most of them been self-induced. So maybe a little bit of overdriving, maybe a little bit of commentator's curse coming in there. But I guess that's on my shoulders, probably not yours, Hamish, because you're quite new to the series. So, well, it's always been a good banter between Rouge Cher and the commentators here at Premier Jerusalem.
It's my first day here. I don't even know where the bins are, Pete. So that's the kind of blame I'm going to take for this. Kurt Chapman still battles away. P13 on the road at the moment. They just sneak past the lap traffic there of Miller, who's been on the real struggle street here tonight on board that Ferrari further back, right on board in behind Robillard. This is the battle for the Challenger race lead. So we saw that Robillard had good pace early on. Track temps have dropped a little bit, down to 26 degrees now, 41% precipitation, still 0% chance of rain. As here comes Chapman, wants it for the race lead with 58 minutes, 50 seconds to go. Is it going to be a change in the Challenger class? Chapman ahead. It's going to be Robillard ahead. They go back and forth, and the Mustang takes the race lead with 2 pit stops to go. And it could be a sense, Pete, that this battle's not going to be over just yet. I feel that this one could go right to the checkered flag.
I think, and don't underestimate Dean Hunt in P14 in the McLaren behind him, because he's had some pretty good results in this league too. So there's a lot of racing to go in the Challenger class. But for Chapman to jump in terms of Rebillard, obviously Rebillard, hey, had a cracking qualifying lap, but it's taken an hour for Kurt to be able to catch up and get that close together. But I tell you again, Hamish, side by side racing through corners where in a lot of other leagues you'd see drivers bump each other and one car goes off the track and you end up having to get race control involvement. This is just pure good old racing. That's what I love about the Bend. I love it.
It's fantastic racing, and it's fantastic racing action as well. And we've had action aplenty all throughout the night. To give a little update, as that's way too deep for Uden there for Tasman Racing, could give a spot up here to Luke King of Whiskey Business Racing as they go side by side in towards the final few corners in the final complex just about. They're still going to continue their battle on, but it is not over just yet as Uden saves position as Adcock has gone off the road. Further back in the field, one of those Aston Martins. He's going to lose position here to Greg Heaney of WBR as he comes on through. This is how it happened. It looks to be down at turn 16, I think it is down here, Pete. So this is one of those spots where cars can get a bit undulated and unloaded, and that's a tough spot to go around. No contact was made to cause him to go around, just a loss of traction in the end there. If we were to finish how we currently are, Trent Allen will take the lead of the championship at the end of the night. Currently he was 5th spot in the championship on 295 points. Well, leading the race at the moment, he would take himself the 378 for the race win. Would give him the championship lead at this stage as well. John Trott would look to take P2 in the championship at this stage. So he currently sits P6 on the road at the moment. He was P6 last time out as well at Silverstone. So consistency is key, and consistent points gains are key as well. And that's what can win and lose you a championship, as Luke King continues to battle away here with Andrew Uden for P30 on the road.
Yeah, no, as we've seen in PL in the past, you don't have to win every race, but you do have to be in the top sort of 3 or 4 cars most races to be able to be in for a championship. But I tell you what, I think you're absolutely spot on. If Trent Allen can pull off a Bathurst win, a Bathurst 1000 win, and follow it up with a 2-hour GT3 win on the same day, that is some sensational
in the same country as well.
Yeah, that is some sensational racing.
If you want to talk about realism, technically speaking, if he were to fly from Bathurst to Tailem Bend, he could get here in time to start the race. So if it was real world, he could do it realistically. So but I feel like you'd be needing one hell of it. You'd want one hell of a nap on that plane and probably one hell of a nap after the race as well. But the fatigue would definitely be setting in if it was real world racing for sure. Patrick Reardon into pit lane. So first of the next pit stop, as this would see him go all the way to the 15-minute mark of the race before he would need his splash and dash later on. Brad Coates is still out there at the moment, P11 on the road at the moment. We're probably only 4 laps away, maybe 3 laps away from the next level of pit stops for the majority of the field. They initially majority pit between lap 18 and lap 20, so it should be between lap 38 and lap 40 that we see the next stop in this race. The important part is those who do get to 40, they'll need slightly less fuel to get home in the last pit stop of the race. So, but Luke King is still putting pressure on to Andrew Udent. Dale Atkins as well took his stop back on lap 30 as well, Pete. So his next stop will be looking for probably around about lap 49 or lap 50, which should then see him get to the end of the race as well. Matt Webber, though, has had a disconnection, it seems, from the front of the field. So that's going to be a free position for everyone else here. And that's probably cost him a podium at this stage of the race as well.
That's a big DC, that one, because he was doing really well running up there in the top part of the field. If you're going to have a DC, you want to be having a bad race, right? But to have a DC from the front, that's really hard to take. I feel really bad for Matty there.
Yeah, that's a real heartbreak for Matt Webber, who now drops down the order. It does see, though, the Aston Martin of Owen Coleman go onto the podium at this stage. It also promotes Brad Coates into the top 10s. That's now 4 RER cars inside of the top 10. The other cars that are up there as well, we've got an Alpine Pro Racing entry of Adrian Gretsch, Pro Drive Racing Trent Stapleton, James Mason of Simline Race Services, John Trott of One Performance Racing, and this guy right here, Brock Caddy of TriStar Racing, as well as Owen Coleman, as I mentioned, of Digital Motorsport Team 2. So 10 cars, all elite drivers. We then get to P11, we get to P1 for the Challenger class for Kurt Chapman of Project 36. So that's how they currently situate here at the 53-minute mark of our race here tonight at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park. So we're probably a good 13, probably a good couple of minutes away here from the next pit stop. Actually, we're lap 38, so we might even see some drivers come in now, Pete, just for an earlier stop. But it's going to be between now and lap 40 that we start to see traverses through pit road.
Absolutely, and I've just been thinking about how you'd approach these pit stops, and I'm thinking that the fastest way to do it is full pit stop with tyres and then splash without tyres at the back end of the race. Now, you could mix that up, right? So if you're after track position right now, and some of these drivers do listen to broadcasts, you do have a chance now to mix it up. If you go for a 60% fuel fill, no tyres, you can gain some track position and then race, but you're going to have to pay it back in your next pit stop. So there is the opportunity to do that right now, but I think the fastest way to the end, right, is full pit stop, full tyres on this stop, and then for everybody, splash and dash, fuel only, no tyres to the end of it. Those that don't have the ability to tick tyres off and those sorts of things, that's where these sort of idiosyncrasies come into play in terms of sim racing. If you can't do it while you're driving and you don't have somebody else to do it while you're driving, then potentially you could cost yourself sort of 4 to 5 seconds in terms of tyres that you don't necessarily need, and that could cost you a few positions once the field's spread out like it is. So think about being able to think about that through all the way through to the end of the race, but that's the way I'm seeing it. I think you're right. I think we're probably only a lap or two from seeing those pit stops come in, and in fact, here we go. We're starting to see some cars come in right now.
Trent Allen, the race leader, is now in the pit lane for Revolution E-Racing. The only other way I can see, Pete, of where you could have fresher tyres at the end than maybe a couple of other competitors is offset your stops slightly. So maybe you do your splash early or you do your splash in the middle and you take a bigger stop towards the end of the race to get some tyres on board the car. That's really the only way around it, though. I can see it working out, and you can maybe use a bit of track position to your advantage as Caddy. Oh my God, Caddy and Coleman in, as well as Chris Ruddles in as well. That was nearly full rear end contact, and probably one of the factors we haven't mentioned tonight, Pete, is that pit entry. You leave the track, and then all of a sudden you're at the cone, and you've got to slow up to pretty much 40 k's an hour. It is one of the shortest pit entries on the entire iRacing service. It's one of the hardest to get down to speed as well. So drivers will have to be planning probably 2 corners ahead before they come into pit lane. They're smart that have a button set up saying pitting in this lap. So then drivers behind them don't try and maybe follow them out of the last corner and make rear-end contacts as they come into pit road. So sometimes you got to sit on the eye of caution when entering here at Shelby Power Motorsport Park into pit lane. But it'll sometimes help you, Pete, because I've seen a couple of incidents happen now here at the Bend of drivers are coming in pit lane and the drivers right behind them aren't aware and they've just rear-ended them as they've slowed down to merge off of the racing line.
Yeah, no, and that can happen because, I mean, essentially you're going 200 kilometres an hour to 40 in a very, very short space of time. So what you don't want is you don't want to put yourself in a position where somebody right behind you actually gives you tail-end damage, which slows your car down. Because in these cars, you'll get a whole lot of drag. So anyway, over to you. We've got some leaders coming back in.
There is the cone, and this is Isaac Curtis coming into pit lane. So the current race leader is in. We'll see if John Trott follows him. He went a lap longer the last time by, remember. So this is a little bit offset now. So Curtis has managed to go 21 laps on that last stint instead of the 20. He's obviously able to save some fuel behind his teammate Trent Allen. John Trott has gone 21 laps as well, so he's gone on to lap 41 now. So a bit of fuel saving on board that car. It is astonishing how these strategies can be slightly different, but they all come together in the end, and it is a monumental moment in these races when it does, because we love to see strategy on the road. A race of strategy is so much fun, as Chapman and Gretsch are in pit lane as well. Buchanan, Mason also followed in the race leader of Curtis. Coates has gone a lap longer again. If you recall, he pitted on lap 21 earlier in this race. If he goes 21 again, that'll take him out to lap 42. So might see him have a slightly shorter pit stop at the end of this race. Could get him some free positions here, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to keep an eye on the Challenger Class 2. With Chapman, Foster and McLaren all up there.
Black flag, Pete, for Adrian Gretsch. So he's had a speeding in pit lane penalty. So I don't reckon he got that car slowed up enough on the pit entry. And that has cost him massively. That'll cost him a top 10 finish tonight, I guarantee you, because he's going to drop so far down the order now by having to either come back through pit lane or take a stop hold. That's really it's a stop hold. He's doing it right now. So he's about to give up another 40 seconds.
And I feel for Adrian. Adrian, you haven't been here a lot for PL. Adrian's been one of the drivers who has taken risk on fuel in a lot of the races, and at a lot of last laps has either not made it to the finish line and lost lots of positions. And now to cop a black flag on a race where you're not taking risk on fuel is going to hurt him pretty bad. So yes, Adrian's going to feel a bit bad about that one. But at the end of the day, you've got to hit the numbers, right? You've got to stop. You've got to make 40, and if you don't do it, it's even for everyone. It's fair for everybody. It's a marker in iRacing.
Owen Coleman has just come up on Tristan McLaren. He's just let Owen go because he hasn't come through pit road just yet. Just to give you the update as well on the current running order. So right now we have got 5 cars, actually, to give the correct answer. 5 cars currently out of this race. Allen and Curtis should be in the net race lead, of course, as they were top 2 prior to pit stops. The 5 cars that are currently out: Brendan Purcell, John Lee, Ricky Provenzali, Leith McClement, and Gavin Simpson. So I think Leith's internet has actually come back to bite him once again. It's a real shame there for Leith earlier on in proceedings. Nick Miller, Sam Lambert, Dale Atkins, Chris Ruddle, Nick Coburn, Nick Bottrell, Matt Webber. Matt's actually back out on track, good to see. Andrew Uden and Luke King are all a lap down on the race leaders at this stage. And right now, I think their strategy here, Pete, is both these guys are probably going to work together for the whole race, and then we may see a battle between them if the gap's big enough to the checkered flag.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I was just thinking, we haven't called Isaac Curtis much for this race, but I think he's just been sitting up there with Trent Allen. But has he short fueled to jump in front? Has he done something?
No. So on their last stop, they swapped round, and I think Trent took slightly less fuel. On this time round, Trent took slightly more, and it's only a little bit. He only took about 0.2 more than what Isaac did, but Isaac was able to go a lap longer before coming into pit lane. So he probably actually gained that then on the extra lap when he came around. So as Trott comes in, Coates will look to come in shortly as well. They've got some lap traffic ahead of them. It shouldn't hold them up from getting up to John Trott, but it may shorten the gap between them and the corrected P3 on the road, Owen Coleman, who's 27.1 seconds in behind them. But right now it is Revolution iRacing dominance here in Premier Endurance League, as a couple of cars are in pit lane. That was James McMenamin, Braden O'Loughlin and Glenn Jones into pit road. A couple of Frog Leap Juice Racing cars and an Odyssey Racing car as well. These guys want to get past the lap traffic as soon as possible. Ed Adcock, Adrian Gretsch and Greg Brooks are the next cars ahead of them. You would suspect Greg would give it to them for free because, well, he's their teammate after all. He will not make it difficult at any stage. Adcock will be feeling and getting blue flags. Gretsch will be getting blue flags soon as well. So they've got to try and make it as easy as possible for these guys to get past. And, well, Adcock does the right thing. We'll see if Gretsch does the right thing for Isaac and Trent.
Yeah, no, look, and it's good driving by the cars that are down a lap there so far. And I've seen that already through this race, that the lap cars have been pulling out and giving the lead cars a way to go. Now, I've seen this before, that Revolution race team guys, they will drive together until sort of the last part of the race. But, you know, whilst they mightn't put on a show for now, come the last 10 minutes, Hamish, they will then put on a show. So, don't expect sort of fireworks just yet. But this if they're going to stay together, this is going to be a slow burn through. One more splash and dash pit stop, and then I think it'll be on.
So, Owen Coleman and John Trott battle away for corrected P3 on the road. Coleman wants third, Trott wants third. Trott gives it up to him just for the moment, knowing there's one more stop left in this race. Brad Coates is into pit lane, so the order's about to get corrected for us amongst the front pack. Interesting little note here as well, Pete. We're 3 minutes and 15 seconds or so away from critical stock time. You can get home in the next 3 minutes if you come in and top the car up. So we may see a couple of, we'll call them ballsy moves, a couple of, roll the dice, see what happens, come in, just top the car up and make the car home. It's also a good opportunity if you, don't know the exact amount you're going to need to make 40 minutes. You just top the car up and you don't have to make any calculations. So we could see some cars pitting in the next few moments here.
I called 40 minutes at the start of the race, but to be honest, we saw him come in at 35. So those cars that did those couple of extra laps, they certainly went 40 minutes. So there is a chance, but you're going to have to drive with fuel saving. But I think you're right. I think we're getting close to that point where anybody who comes into the pits can make it to the end of the race, and that becomes eye-opening, particularly if they've got a little bit of speed. And it's the time now in the next 10 minutes between that sort of 40 and 30 minutes that if you're going to come in, that is the last chance to take tyres. But if you're under 30 minutes to go, you just won't take tyres. You just keep going.
That's right. You'll just take your fuel and you'll just tick on. It's not going to be enough time to really cover the tyres, so there's not going to be any worth. Buchanan, though, wants another spot. It's past his teammate of Brad Coates as he goes up the inside down at turn 5 in the braking zone. So Buchanan continues on. A fantastic race tonight as well. He's now up to P8 on the road. Here comes Sean Benici, and that's a position from Tristan McLaren in towards turn 1. We can see that Luke Capoza continues to battle away here with Ben Wilkes as well, all for P19 on the road. So a top 20 spot on the line for them as they continue to battle away. And I'm just having a quick look here. That's not going to do it for me, is it? No? Okay, that's fine. I was going to try and figure out how much time it was for them to actually do the stint. It's 20 times a minute, 45 roughly is the average of some of the field, but probably a minute 46, if anything. So
46, mate. I wouldn't go quicker than 46, but we're right. I think we're good. I mean, they certainly need fuel to get
It is roughly 35 minutes, so they need to go another 5 minutes before they're guaranteed to get home on fuel. So we'll probably see those splashes of some dice rollers in the next 5 minutes or so. So Koistra continues to battle away here with Kaposa and Wilkes. He's not letting them get away just yet. He's down 15 positions in this race in the P21, but time is ticking and it's going to strike midnight on the opportunity to get a top 10 in this race for Rue Koistra. Best thing he can probably hope for right now is possibly a top 15. So for Rue, he's got to try and get these moves made, but he's got to be strategic. He's got to be calculated, and he's got to try and take the advantage whenever he can towards the end of this race as we come back down the main straight, past the main complex. Lap 44 will begin for these guys as we tick over the 40-minute mark. So 40 minutes left to go here of Shell V-Power Motorsport Park, and take this opportunity to give another quick shout out to all the series sponsors once again, and a massive appreciation to them for supporting the series. Of course, the series sponsor Dash OffRoad 4x4 Parts and Accessories Store. Visit them over at www.dashoffroad.com.au. Shout out to the safety car sponsor as well, Sudspeed Gloves, premium sim racing gloves for sim racers, made by sim racers. You can visit them at www.sudspeed.com. And to Kibby Graphics, brand of clothing, car apps and commercial graphics, visit them over at kibbygraphics.com.au. And Sim Racing in Focus, podcast focused on sim racing, you can visit them over at facebook.com/Sim Racing in Focus. Their latest episode interviewed me, Hamish Munro. You can go see that and find out some history on my broadcasting history and my history as a team owner as well, and get updated on the IWC coming into their next season as well. So it's a good chat that I had with Dean Reddit and Packets in that latest episode. I also spoke about my tattoo of No Punterino Jim for Jimmy Broadbent too as well. And if you're joining us for the first time, or you've been here for a little while and you haven't done so already, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, the bell icon too, so you're notified whenever we go racing here in the Premier Endurance League, with 4 rounds to go this season across Watkins Glen Road, Atlanta, Motegi and Fuji Speedway, across both the GT3 Open Series and the GT3 Limited Series as well. There's the dates for you. The next event coming your way will be October 19 for the Limited Series, October 26 for the Open, then November 2nd, November 16th, November 23rd, November 30th, and December 14th and December 7th, before we take a break for 2025. So much more action that'll come your way throughout the rest of the year in PEL, as we show off some fantastic sports car racing from the land of Australian sim racing too. So it's going to be a massive end of year to come your way. You guys don't want to miss it. Of course, I assume next time, Pete, it'll likely be Mr. Rankin back again, and I hope and pray that I've lived up to the aura of Scott Rankin, because he is a commentary. I don't want to give him too much bullets and say God.
Say nothing. Say nothing.
I say nothing.
Hamish, say nothing. I'll tell you why you say nothing, right? Because in 2 weeks' time, I'm picking him up and taking him to Bathurst, right? And I'm going to have the weekend with him, and then those 2 races we're commentating. I expect to be commentating together, and ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have the dirt on the magical Scotty Rankin for everybody. All right, so yeah, they tune in. If not for the fantastic racing that we're going to get at Watkins Glen, tune in for the stories that I'm going to have about Scott Rankin at his first V8.
Please tell me, Pete, you're going to take advantage of those alcohol limitations at Bathurst and just feed him things to try and get some info out of him.
Where we stay, there are not those alcohol limitations don't apply. So,
oh well then.
Don't tell Scotty. There are ways, tricks, hints, and Scotty does know. But mate, Hamish, you've done an absolute wonderful job. It's been awesome commentating with you tonight, and for all intents and purposes, it's just as similar as commentating with Scotty anyway. So I am absolutely thrilled to be here and be a part of it with you. But we won't, unless you come to Bathurst with us, you won't have the stories that we might have.
Unfortunately, I cannot come to Bathurst, unfortunately for me, but that's fine. I'll tune into the next race at Watkins Glen to hear all the stories of Mr. Rankin and everything that Pete gets up to with him. It's been a pleasure tonight to be here, obviously, for PEL, and to have the opportunity to call this league as well. I mean, sports car racing is become my bread and butter really for commentary. I love sports car racing. I love watching IMSA in real life. It's the one, I used to get up early to watch F1. IMSA is the one thing that if F1 is on right now, yes, If I don't get up early to watch IMSA, I will watch it as soon as I wake up if I have the opportunity to. I love IMSA and I love sports car racing, and yeah, I love being able to call racing like this, especially for all of our homegrown talent here in Australia as well. And it's a phenomenal opportunity, and I look forward to the opportunity, Pete, to call the Vets action once again this upcoming season as well. I can't remember if you're still in Split 2 or not, Pete. I'll have to double check. I think you are. I think you are still in Split 2, so that'll be good to be able to call your racing once again. Yes, you are still in Split 2. That's good. Oh, Pete, I've just seen how many race starts you do. You can never race again in Vets. You've got 69 race starts, Pete. You've got to just end it at that. Come on.
No, it's Vets. We're more mature than that, mate.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. But no, I look forward to calling your racing once again this season with Brett alongside me. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting season for season 25 over there. But we've still got exciting action to come as we've just surpassed the 35-minute mark in this race. Pit stops will be coming our way across the next, I would argue, probably the next 10 minutes or so, because this is the get home point. You can pit now and make it home, barring it doesn't go an extra lap, and you could be good to go.
And have a look at the Challenger class. So Chapman's come up in the Challenger class. Rebelliard's still there, and Dean Hunt's still managing third, and we've got Philly and Foster just chasing them. And the cars are all together still, Hamish. So essentially, Rebelliard's still chasing Richard Mille. I mean, there's the difference between Elite and Challenger, but they're only 3 seconds apart. We've got the guys between sort of P4 and 7 are still close together. But unfortunately, those two Revolution race team guys, they're just out the front. We might need to give them a drive-through.
They're kind of in a league of their own. We might need to give them a weight penalty for Watkins Glen, Pete, maybe. Just give them some ballast and be like, oi, you have to drive this car because we've put ballast on it through the BOP, and it will make it fair for everyone else. But no, I mean, hats off to them, though. Hats off to them for being in such a dominant position. And that's through racing clean, racing with a driver that is at your pace and unaltered with anyone else around you as well. I mean, Cher makes a good point. Rue spun out early. He's called back 3 times. Now, if he stayed on track, he'd be up there with the front runners. But we can make that claim about anyone who's made a mistake throughout this race as well. So, if Rue wants to race those front runners every single week, then just need to try and tighten up the screws a little bit on the minor mistakes. But we're racers. It's racing. It happens. Everyone makes mistakes on track, and sometimes it's just not your night, Pete.
No, but for Isaac Curtis and for Trent Allen, to be able to make 30 seconds on essentially a field with this sort of
they've taken a torque wrench to their screws. That's how tight they are.
That just shows one, how much practice they have, how much discipline they have, how good they are in terms of just being consistent in terms of lap pace, and they're racing together and not actually causing each other trouble right now. And whilst I call we might see a little bit of fireworks, if they got 30 seconds on top of it, they might just settle for the positions the way they are, or whatever happens out of the next pit stop and go from there. But because essentially one race doesn't make a championship, but a P1 and a P2 for 2 guys makes a hell of a dent in everybody else's championship. So, but shout out, those guys are just going sensationally. One of the things I really love about this one though is this Challenger class, right? Is the Challenger class currently got P10, P12, 13, 14, 15. So the guys are all together, right? But they're in front of half of the elite class, right? And they're up there. And so the Challenger class, in some ways, Curtis and Allen have it easy out the front because they're out there and they're on their own. The Challenger class not only have to race within the class, they've also got the elite class racers fighting for every position with them. So that's a whole lot of mental challenge that they've got. Oh no, if we've just seen a little bit of fun. Oh.
We mentioned as well, Pete, that we might see some pit stops. Richard Mille has come in at the get home time for Sud Speed Autosport. So an early stop for the Corvette. And he's probably anticipating that we may go a lap longer, so he's given himself some breathing space. Chris Ruddle came into pit lane as well, but he's now down the auto. I think he's actually come in and towed back to his box, unfortunately for him. So both the Sud Speed Autosport cars now in pit road. This was a moment here for Braden O'Loughlin for Frog Leap Juice Racing. Of course, he's also one of those Vets racers out there. It's contact with the Ferrari. We've seen that Ferrari of Isaac Norman Or it was either Isaac Norman, Jamie Saxon or Glenn Jones. All three of them running Odyssey Racing Ferraris. There, or Nick Miller possibly. So whichever one of them it was, they've been involved in that moment there. Unfortunate for him. For good old Braden O'Loughlin. Currently racing over in Split 4 of It's a course. Former Split 2 driver, former Split 3. He's been nearly here, there or everywhere, Pete, in terms of racing, but GTs have always been his bread and butter. Very similarly to his teammates Ben Brook and Robert Crisdale, as John Trott is hoping for Brock Caddy to get out of his way, but Brock Caddy is not lap traffic. It's the Porsche of Andrew. Is it Andrew Uden that's just ahead of him? No, it's not Andrew Uden. Oh, John running a little bit deep there as they come past Sam Lambert. Sorry. So Sam drops back behind them. And we see Matt Webber down 28 after his disconnection earlier on. He's back out on the road now, which is good to see. But this battle for P4 is still going, and it seems to have been going for the whole race here, Pete.
No, did that just seemed a whole lot messier than needed to be. Have we got cars going off there? Yes, we do. Yes. Is that a get out of the way car? No. But that whole sequence looked messier than it needed to be. That was Brock Caddo going off track. Yeah, out-braking himself into 6 and is be able to make a position back. But it's the Porsche at the background that I'm going to call out. Probably all he needed to do was lift on the straight and let the 3 cars go and just slot in behind. But essentially, he lifted in the braking zone and and it complicated the whole Turn 1 series for all 4 cars. So anyway, you've got to think about what you're doing even when you get lapped. But yeah, no, they're all still together. I think they're going to race to the end, and Brock Caddo's just shown he certainly is still pushing it. He's overshot the braking marker and going off track at that Turn 6 complex.
I saw earlier John Trott's teammate, of course, Jake Edwards, was in the chat. Fire up Jake Edwards fans of OPR. Fire up John Trott fans as well. He could be on here for a P4 here tonight, or depending on how the little splash and dash goes. Well, he's probably not going to gain 5.6 seconds on that splash and dash, let's be honest. But depending on what happens to Owen Coleman, could be on for a podium. But Brock Caddy wants to put an end to that and the end of a possibility of a podium for John Trott if things do go his way. They're both inside of the top 5. They've got a 5.3 second gap over James Mason, just in behind them of Slimline Race Services. To give you the rundown of the current top 10, it's Curtis to Alan Coleman on the podium, Trott and Caddy in the top 5, Mason, Stapleton, Buchanan, Coates, and then to Chapman for the overall top 10. He also leads the way for the Challenger class ahead of Robillard, who's just dropped a spot to Hunt because Robillard's into pit lane. So one of those Challenger front runners has come in for an earlier stop here. We'll take his splash. We'll see how it all pans out. In terms of the top 10 for the elite class overall, Martin Hallinan is the other top 10 driver, but he's back in P15 overall. As Koistra battles away here with Ben Wilkes for P19. He's still yet to get past that Porsche. And well, the McLaren, he's had the struggles ever since the start of the night. Might be a night to forget for him, quite possibly. Pete may just need to focus up for Watkins Glen in only a couple of weeks' time, come back stronger and really put the pressure on for hopefully to get another podium similarly to what he had at Silverstone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can have these races in GT3, where you just overdrive it, and I think that's what Rue did in the first lap. He just overdrove it a little bit in the first couple of corners. Cold tyres has essentially just put him back in the field, and then under pressure made some other mistakes. But easy to happen. I'm quite a veteran of having a mistake early in an endurance race, and I'm talking the sort of 6, 12 hour, 24 hour ones, and going, oh, here we go, it's another fight back race. So that's the mindset that Rue's had to put himself into pretty much basically from the first lap of this race, and just get into fight back mode and away you go and see what you get.
That's exactly right. James Mason into pit lane now as well, so out of the top 10 he'll drop further down the order. Pete, there's a reason why I deliberately will not put my hand up to start an endurance race. It's so I can scapegoat the blame onto somebody else if there is an incident in that first stint. I do not want to have to take the blame for it. I cannot handle that pressure. What I can handle is like second or third stint where I just have to do consistent laps. I'm happy to do that. But, this is why I like to do the raw. It's just me. I can only blame myself if I make a mistake, and it means I can learn from it a bit better as well. But for Rue Koistra, he battles away here with Ben Wilkes of Cobalt Racing as we look back to Adrian Gretsch, who's still tucked in behind Tristan McLaren of ESR here this evening. They've got Jake Robillard up ahead of them, who has taken his final pit stop of the race, and tucked in behind them is Greg Brooks of ARTT Revolution E-Racing, as he continues to just slowly massage the pressure onto the back of that Valvoline Merc of Adrian Gretsch of Alpine Pro Racing as well. Greg doing a good job. Of course, back in December, took part in the SLW Santa 500. Had the pleasure of having a chat with him and getting prepped for that race. He lended us one of his drivers for that one to partner up with Shane Randall. It's a good day for them until, unfortunately, the driver in question, which I need to double check now who it was, Kurt Nommensen, unfortunately, put it in the wall and pulled out the only safety car of that race. But shout out to Kurt. Shout out to RER as well. They're top blokes. Really, really cool to work with them in that event and have them a part of my own league. Is off the back of McLaren. Here comes Gretsch. Wants the inside. Can he get the move done under brakes? Oh, it's going to be tight down at turn 5. Here comes the Merc, and the Merc will want to get this done up through 6, but he's got to get that power down as best he can. He just can't quite get there. That's one of those cars that's made a real resurgence as well, Pete, through the recent BOPs, is that Mercedes. At one point in time, unfortunately, similarly to the Lamborghini, it was just at the back of the field in every single special event you found. It was one of the toughest cars to get comfortable in, but now it's on a real resurgence course. It's blocking the inside, or defending the inside, I should really say, is Tristan McLaren. Gretsch just cannot quite find a way past, and it's starting to bottleneck back with Brooks and the Englishman Adcock as well, as he looks to try and make his way through here, but they just can't quite get it.
I think you're right. I mean, I love driving the Mercedes GT3. It's got that real throaty V8 throbby sound about it.
It's just the grunt, isn't it?
It's just something special. Yeah, and it's rear-wheel drive, front engine.
The positive of the Mustang being fast is you get to drive one of the best-sounding GT3s, and it's competitive again. That is one of the big bonuses of the Mustang being competitive now, and it's the same for the Merc.
Yeah, so I always like the Merc. I love jumping in the Porsche because the Porsche for me is it's just the ultimate race car, right? It revs like a race car, it drives like a race car. It still spins around a bit, but it's just go-kart on a racetrack. Porsche doing Porsche things. JP will hate me, love me for saying that.
Yeah, you should have heard him during a Porsche Cup season. I wouldn't stop hearing about Porsche doing Porsche things.
I lost a number of bets on Porsche doing Porsche things. But
can't quite get there. Here comes Brooksy. He wants an outside run up at 6 if he can get it. I don't know is he going to get the power down. There's a bit of gravel down there on that dirty side of the road, so it might just be affecting the traction just a little bit. As we ride on board with a 230 Mustang, 22 3/4 minutes left to run at Tailem Bend here this evening. It's been a fantastic race thus far. And at 15 minutes to the hour right now, we're going to go just past 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time before we meet the checkered flag here this evening. Will we go a lap extra? Or will we get to the line right on 00s? Only time will tell. But right now, I mean, these battles we mentioned have been nice and tight all throughout the race. There's been some separation from the rest of the field as well. But as these strategies will come together, we're bound to see a couple of battle packs for some important positions start to form up before the end of this race.
We're going to start to see some splashes very shortly, Hamish. We're right on that time frame. But what I've been thinking about the Aston Martin is because it's such a new car, is whether Tristan has been able to actually optimise the setup yet or not. And maybe that's why we're seeing him as a bit of cork in the bottle. It's such a new car that he's got a good setup, but it's not a great setup. But all of the other cars, which have had a lot more time in iRacing, GT3, and a whole lot of setup shops have had a go at them, then they've got those just optimal little bits and pieces, and you can see it through the corners that they've just got a little bit more grip, a little bit more go. But Tristan is just managing to stay in front of them with some defensive driving, but with essentially some good, consistent driving as well. So
it's also a car, Pete, that would have been. It's also a car that would have been developed by iRacing and set up around the new tyre model, where all these other cars have come out prior to the new tyre model coming out. So it would have a lot more allowances, we'll say, for that tyre model. As through comes Gretsch in a big move down the inside, caught the Aston napping off the exit of turn 5 in through turn 6, And now McLaren has got to try and find a little way around him. You look off the back of Adrian Gretsch's Alpine Pro Racing Merc to the front of the Aston Martin of Tristan McLaren, but Brooks is right there to pounce on him in the ARTT car, and he'll hope to make a move as he looks to send it down the inside of the ESR car. Oh, there was nearly contact made. So close. Almost seemed like a little kiss on the rear end of that car. Oh, there goes McLaren.
Oh, what a
McLaren
shame.
spun round. Now, was there damage on that car, or was the contact that was made, did it maybe just heat the tyres up a little bit? And then he's overcooked it on the exit. I got no idea. We'll check it out in a moment's notice. Here comes Koistra and Trent battling away. This is for P14. Brooks is in pit lane. Smart move from him, I'd say, Pete. Get out of the battle, take your splash and dash, get some clean air on the road and push onto the checkered flag.
You think of for 10 minutes that if you're in a battle and you know you're faster, then you go and do your splash and dash early. But I don't know why more people haven't done that. But anyway, that was some sensational driving. I think I'd love to see the telemetry on how hard Brooksy pushed the brake pedal as he got close to the back of the Aston Martin.
The firewall might be cracked possibly on that Mustang.
Yeah, I think it was just on his own after he sort of got resettled again. And, maybe a little bit of extra anxiety after having that pressure 2 quarters before, and a little bit more throttle pressure or something in the car that he didn't otherwise had. So, you sort of can't blame another car for that. But I'd love to see the brake trace on.
The heat map on the brake spring would be you'd scan it and it'd be at Kelvin, surely. Like, it'd just be on absolute fire trying to get that car pulled up. But yeah, pressure's on for a lot of drivers to try and make sure they can not only get to the checkered flag, but make their race worth it. They've kept it clean all throughout. It'd be a shame for them to throw it away now, so close to the end. We're less than 20 minutes away from the end of this race. And in these final 20 minutes, this is where we can start to see some mistakes happen, Pete. The fatigue starts to get to you. You're in cruise control mode, and you realise, oh wait, there's 20 minutes left. I've got to start putting my head down, and you put your head down, and then you end up off track. So that's one of the biggest tests of this sort of racing. It's one of the biggest tests of the Bend as well. You put those two chemicals together, and you can either come up with a beautiful concoction, or you can end up with a cocktail made for death on board these cars. So drivers have got to be careful, and they've got to make sure they got the measurements right.
You got to remember, mate, we've been calling this for an hour and 40 minutes already, and we're saying 20 minutes to go. Drivers have been driving for an hour and 40.
That's
but
right.
20 minutes is half a normal GT3 race, night race.
Oh yeah.
This is still a long way to go to the end. And we've got 10 or 12 pit stops still to happen for this to cycle back into normality. Yes, the cars are spread out. They're all over the track right now. I don't think we're going to see a safety car. I reckon that was a pretty safe call.
I would highly doubt that at this point, Pete, if I'm honest with you. I mean, unless somehow a chasm opens up at turn 5 and cars just start to fall into the depths of hell, I don't think we're going to see a safety car called at this point of the race. I mean, it looks very unlikely. Kurt Chapman, he's had a phenomenal race thus far. He's currently up 15 positions, but there will be some corrected order in that through the pit stop strategies in this race. He's 9.6 seconds ahead of the nearest car in class. That's Dean Hunt of Frogleap Juice Racing. He's hot on the heels of Revolution E-Racing's Brad Coates for P7 on the road. And he looks to make it for P7. Does Kurt, sends it up the inside. Great move for the Project 36 driver. That'll make Brendan Griffiths happy, the team boss over there, and will make the likes of Angus Lawford and David Lawler and friends all cheer for Kurt Chapman as he puts that car into the top 7. Race leaders, well, Isaac Curtis has kept going. Trent Allen has come in for his splash and dash. Rue Koistra is in as well. So Allen in, stops in the box. No tyres on board that car. It's just fuel, as we would suspect. Curtis may come in this next lap. Coleman is in as well. So we'll need to keep an eye on John Trott when he traverses past pit lane, or when he comes through pit lane, for when Coleman comes past to see if he's gained anything, and for Brock Caddy. who's just come in behind Coleman. Buchanan's in as well. Allen is just exited. So the battle's still on for these positions inside of the top 5. If Buchanan can get a good run off of this pit stop here, Pete, with 15 and a half minutes roughly left to go, could he challenge for a top 5 position to make it a triple top 5 for Revolution E-Racing here at the Bend?
Yeah, top 5, absolutely. I mean, we know P1 and P2, they have got a massive big gap on the field, right? But I think three sort of to about sort of 5 has got a few seconds between them, and we don't know what they're going to do in Splash and Dash, right? This is where you can take some risk and underfill, Hamish, and we see this in other events. You know, you underfill by half a lap and see if you can make it, or do you go safe, or do you add an extra 0.2 or 0.4 of a lap of fuel? Do we get the extra lap depending on where the leader is at the time that the race goes to 0, right? That iRacing, the fuel calculator doesn't calculate, and that could put some other people out. So there are still a number of things to play out that might play out. The other thing that I'm noticing is the Challenger class has kind of split up right now, but I think that Kurt Chapman, he's still got a pit stop to go right now. He's looking like he's well and truly out in front, but he has got a pit stop to go. It's certainly not going to be a 52-second pit stop. And then Rebillard's still sitting there comfortably, I think, in second for Challenger, and Dean Hunt not far behind Rebillard, 2.4 seconds.
Hallinan, Wilkes, Gretsch, Benici, Adcock traverse through pit lane as well. We focus up on Brock Caddy. The reason we focus up on him is he is caught in heavy traffic right now behind James Mason, who has taken his pit stop to get home. So Mason has had a net gain over Caddy through the stops. The reason we're focused up on him is John Trott still needs to come through pit lane. And if these guys start battling and they start just getting into too much of a rhythm as they run wide, that's going to cost them big. There's 5 seconds back to Buchanan. So the harder they push and the more mistakes they make, that's going to allow Buchanan just to get up onto the rear of them. Corrected order, this should be 4. There's 4 positions ahead of them. 2 of them would be behind. So corrected, it should be battle for P5 still, but Caddy is currently corrected order in P6 as Curtis Trott going for another lap, as does Chapman and Coates. As we look back at Richard Merritt, Curtis is in. So Isaac Curtis comes in to take his final stop of the race. We'll see where he ends up in comparison to his teammate Trent Allen. We suspect they'll be around abouts each other, but it's who will be ahead of the other.
Yeah,
so
Trott
John
Trott and Coates are yet to pit, so both of those need to pit, and we'll see what happens. Everybody else, I think, is pitting the fuel only. Trent Stapleton, P10, has I think he's taken tyres. It's 22-second pit stop, so I think Stapleton potentially might have a bit of pace, but he's got a big gap to make up.
Very, very big gap. So John wants this car out of his way, and he's been stuck behind that car now for quite a while. And at some point, I mean, when you're following for a good 5 corners within 0.8 of a second, Pete, you're then going to ask yourself, well, why haven't you given the opportunity? You know, you're trying to chase down a race leader as Isaac Curtis comes out of pit lane, and he has got 3.9 seconds over Trent Allen. He has taken a 12.5 second stop as Isaac Curtis. So he looks to have this race in hand. Whether he's underfueled or not, I don't know. And I don't know if John Trott has enough to go to the end either, but 12 minutes left to run. The way he's pushing the car, you wouldn't think so.
I think John Trott's still got another pit stop to go, mate. He pitted on lap 41. That is 16 laps earlier than Trent Allen right now on current pit stops. So he's only going to make another couple of laps. So he's got a splash to go, but it's a short splash, right? It's only going to be about 3 laps of fuel, but it's still a splash. He has to traverse the pit lane. So I don't think Trott's in it for the win or even the podium here. But you know, it's might as well put some pressure on the leader while you're there.
Well, if there's a mistake from Coleman, all of a sudden the podium's back on. If there's a mistake from Mason as well, then that can also open up the door for you too. So it's, Trott still needs to come through pit lane. And Stefan McCartan pointed that out to us. Thanks, Stefan. It's, Coates still needs to come in as well. So these guys are going long. Chapman has remained in the race lead of the Challenger Class 2. He's come out in P9. So he's done well to get to that point. Buchanan in P8, Caddy, Mason, Coleman, Coates, Allen, Trott, Curtis. They're the cars ahead. Trott will remain in the battle for the top 5 when he comes to the pit lane. And Stapleton is inside the top 10, as you mentioned, Pete, with those fresh tyres on board that car. But well, why would you take tyres at this stage of the race? Seems like he's throwing something away there, I'm not sure. As we right on board with Richard Mayer in towards turn 1 on board. One of the only Corvettes in the whole field. He's trying to get this job done on Martin Hallinan for a top 10 in the elite class in this race. Oh, Hallinan's gone round. Take that one for free. It was Martin Hallinan that has just gone round there. So Mayer and Kaposa get past him. So does Wilkes. Benici might get past him too. As well as Rue Koistra going around in the background there. It goes from bad to worse, and the dominoes have crashed down for Rue here in round 2 of the championship.
I tell you what, if I was, who was that pressing on Hallinan? Was that Richard Mayer or Luke Kaposa? I would actually give them a whole lot of credit, because to me, that was a mistake made by pressure. That was getting right up at the back, right in there, making the driver push a little bit harder, and then, wow, where you go.
He just came in too tight and too hot, and that's why it went round.
Yep, mistake from pressure.
And then I think Rue's done the exact same thing, it looks like. He hasn't come in as tight, but I think he might have lit it up a bit early, possibly. Yeah, there it is. Round he goes on the dirty side of the road as well, so he wasn't quite far enough over to get the maximum grip on board that car, and it's a real shame for Rue Koister there. I don't believe in commentators' curses, Trenton.
Yeah, that's your fault.
I think that's just a skill issue, if I'm honest with you. That's not a me issue, so... But no. Greg Heaney is into pit lane now as well. We're right on board with Trent Stapleton as he sits amongst the elite class here. He's got Chapman ahead of him, and then Buchanan as well. Chapman's got a good bit of pace and a bit of time between him and Jake Robillard. It's about 9.4 seconds between P1 and P2 in the Challenger class at this stage, as Chapman wants this move. Actually, that was actually Ruddle there, who was a lap down, so he's just gotten out of the way of these guys. What it is, though, is it's a battle for pride for Chapman to get a P9 and finish ahead of a multitude of elite class drivers here this evening. We're still waiting on John Trott to come through pit lane. It's lap 62. We suspect this could be the extent of his fuel tank. It's been 21 laps since he last traversed down pit lane earlier in this race, as Gretsch is putting the pressure here on Rue Koister. So there's still battles aplenty with 8 minutes to go. Field is spread out just a little bit. But man, what a race it has been. 2 hours. It's been as intense as ever. I don't even think there's been a lull period the whole race, Pete. We've been on it the whole time.
So, and you called it. You called it that even though the cars are spread out, that after this last pit stop, those that are racing each other are coming back together. But I think we're seeing an absolute masterclass from Isaac Curtis. And I think once Johnny Trott goes through the pit stop, Trent Island's going to comfortably there for second, and then there's a big gap down to Brad Coates. But where does John Trott come out after he goes through the pits? That's the really big question right now, because the longer he goes, the smaller.
He's in now. He's in now. Yeah. So this is a big pit stop for John Trott, because he is 31.3 seconds ahead of Brad Coates.
So he's got to get the timing right. He's got to get the speed right.
Brad also needs a pit stop. So it's actually a further 17.5 seconds back to Owen Coleman. So around about 48 seconds between Owen and Trott. He could jump those guys possibly as well. So Coates comes past. Trott is exiting pit lane now, so we've got to try and see where Coleman is, because Coleman is his battle for position. There he is as he comes down the main straight. So Coleman's coming down. Trott is out of pit lane, and John Trott is onto a podium position for One Performance Racing in a fantastic effort in the Simrigs entry. A massive moment in this race and a massive momentum swing as well. You have a feeling, Pete, that could have come down to the traffic that Coleman would have caught in terms of the lap traffic as well. It's taken Mason and Caddy out of the battle with John as well, but it has really livened up his race here tonight.
I tell you what, that is a classic example of the overcut and open air, right? And if you've got open air and a free track, you drive. If you can drive as fast as you can, you keep going, regardless of your track position. Oh, this is absolute. Whoa, Hamish, what's going on here?
It looks to be getting a little bit messy, but, well, right now, they feel like they're on top of the world as they battle away. We see there that where was Composer, Mayer as well, battling away with McLaren, and there was a bit of lap traffic coming past them, I think it was. Actually, it's the P2 on the road, Trent Allen, who's just come past them. So it's lap traffic, but it's a lap ahead of them. He was very lucky to make it out of that unscathed. We still await Brad Coates to come in. The important number as well is, although he is only 10 seconds ahead of Trot's, there's no way he's going to jump him. Trot only did an 8.6 second stop on that last pit run through pit road there, Pete. So he's taken a significantly shorter stop than everyone else on the road. Now, I don't know if he's underfueled the car or if that's really the limitations of what he put in, but that's a big number in terms of, 4 seconds is massive as he runs it wide. So Coates comes in, and John Trott goes onto the podium with under 5 minutes to go at Taylor Bend here this evening. And John Trott up 6 spots. He's in an incredible position thus far. Someone's lost a bumper. That'll be a good souvenir for a fan out there. All John has to do now is make the checkered flag.
Remember after the first pit stop, Hamish, I said there was a driver we've got to keep an eye on, and that was Brad Coates. So Brad Coates is going and doing his pit stop now. He was the driver that did 2 extra laps to everybody else. So just about to come out now, coming out in P8. So I reckon that Brad has made some significant advantages from fuel saving in the first 2 stints. I think we're seeing the same thing from John Trott as well. I think he's made some awesome fuel saving along the way, and then it's paid off in that last stop by having such a short splash and dash of fuel.
I think he's fuel saved to the maximum there. We've had confirmation from Stefan McCartan. John is mint on fuel, so he should be able to make it home from here for John Trott. As Tristan McLaren has gone off the road in the Aston Martin further back in the field. This car's been in the wars a little bit here this evening, and he'll try and get back on the road as cleanly as possible, of course. Gets back on, but it's been a night to forget for Tristan McLaren. 5 spots down at the moment, as I think he just ran it slightly too wide on the exit down here. Looks to be, I think that's about turn 15, maybe turn 16. Oh, just got it real loose. Oh, and into the wall as well.
Well, that hurt, but anyway.
Ironic, he's hit the wall right near the move yourself sign on the Armco there on the side of the road, as Brock Caddy's getting really loose in this Mustang. He is pushing hard to put the pressure on Will Buchanan, who's now made it past him. That's 10 spots in this race that Will Buchanan has made to get up to the top 6. A fantastic effort for Will, as Martin Hallinan battles away. That's a massive send down the inside of the Porsche of Ben Wilkes. He's been trying for the last stint of this race to get that job done, and he just hasn't gotten the contract signed on that move there, and he misses out once again. 2.5 minutes to go. I think Isaac Curtis is 2 minutes ahead of Martin at the moment, so maybe 1 more lap possibly in this race, maybe 2 for Martin at this stage. But for Isaac, I believe the next time he crosses the line, I think there'll be 2 to go. Yeah, that's as this battle continues on.
It's 2 to go, so yeah, where's Isaac now? Isaac is about to come up on the last corner, so...
Okay, so it'll be, 2 to go.
Yeah, we'll have 2 laps for sure.
Yeah, 2 laps for sure. So we're going to go into overtime here this evening as this battle continues on with Hallinan and Wilkes. But Hallinan's been seeming desperate to get this move done. We've seen some desperation dives, hasn't quite pulled them off. There's been no contact made, which has been great to see. But he continues to apply the pressure. Brock Caddy is still tucked up in behind Will Buchanan at this stage. He's yet to get back past him. But a phenomenal effort from all these drivers here tonight. Race leaders, though, Isaac Curtis. And, of course, Trent Allen a few seconds back behind him. Next time Isaac crosses the line, it'll be the white flag here at Salem Bend. And what a race it has been. A fantastic race thus far.
You got to go back well into the archives, mate, to see a PEL race that goes 2 hours without a safety car. And the Bend has put on a pure endurance race for us. I think it's been an absolute fantastic track. It's been great weather conditions, been really good driving, and and the cream has certainly risen to the top.
Well, we know that Curtis had some pace based on his qualifying times. We knew that Alan had some pace based on his qualifying times as well. He might be disappointed that he's not going to do the double today of the 1,000 win around Bathurst and also the win at Shell V-Power Motorsport Park here tonight for the Dash Off-Road Premier Endurance League GT3 Limited Series. But 2 podiums in a day at 2 becoming, or 1 iconic and another one that's becoming iconic Australian tracks. That's a pretty fair effort for the Revolution e-racing driver. At least for the team, it'll be a double win here tonight as well. With 9 seconds on the clock, the white flag will be out. 1 to go for Isaac Curtis around Salem Bend as he leads the field. 9.1 seconds back to Trent Allen. It's 34.8 seconds back to John Trott off of Trent as well. Coleman is currently 2.3 seconds off the pack of John, so it'll be tight if he were to catch him, but it's could be a last-minute battle happening between Hallinan and Wilkes, which we've seen the whole race thus far. 67 laps around Taylor Bend.
No.
And the contact's made. And you just felt, Pete, from how close they've been getting, you just felt that it could have possibly only have been a matter of time. And now they have made the contact as Caddy wants this move on Will Buchanan, if he can find it on him. As they continue on, the race leaders shouldn't be too far away from the end of this race as Isaac Curtis comes up towards the final sector of this track. Dominance personified for AITT Revolution e-racing here tonight. Earlier today, they ran the Bathurst 1000 with Trent Allen and James Scott on board the 243 Ford Mustang, and they conquered Mount Panorama. They come in tonight with Isaac Curtis on board the 911 AITT Revolution e-racing Ford Mustang GT car, and as he comes up to the final corner, they've done the double. Shell V-Power Park claimed by Revolution e-racing in the PEL GT3 Limited Series, as Trent Allen will make it a 1-2 finish for that crew, and John Trott nearly 30 seconds back off of them will look to come home in P3 in just a few moments' time. A fantastic win. The 21st of September 2025 will be a day for that team to remember forever. ASR Bathurst 1000 and Dash Off-Road Premier Endurance League GT3 Limited Shell V-Power Park race win as Trott crosses the line and confirms the podium for OPR. Owen Coleman will then come home in P4, Mason home in P5, Buchanan, well, he's looking to come home in P6. And with his teammate Brad Coates currently in P8, it'll be 4 RER cars inside of the top 10 in a fantastic effort. With Caddy in P7. As mentioned, Coates will come home in P8. Chapman will take home the race win for the GT3 Challenger class for Project 36 in P9 overall, the only Challenger inside of the top 10, with Trent Stapleton home in P10 on the road, and Jake Robillard and Dean Hunt make up the Challenger podium here this evening. What a race it was, Pete. 2 hours and roughly 1 minute and 45 seconds. And we get to the checkered flag. Rue Koistart will come home in P23. 17 spots down. And a bit of self-reflection to see how he can improve for Watkins Glen next time out on circuit. A fantastic race. 2 hours, 1 minute, 46.5 seconds roughly was the race length. And what a win it is for
I'll tell you what.
AITT.
And before the guys come in, I'll tell you what was stood out for me was, I mean, the guys out the front, they just blitzed the whole field. They were just well and truly out the front. They took on the field, they killed it. But I'll tell you what, I love the fact that the class result in the challenges was so close tonight, and those guys were able to fight it all the way through the race with only a few elite drivers in between them. So, and for them to get in that essentially 10 to 15 was just great driving, and that shows how close this really is between Open and Challenger. Over to you for the race results, mate.
This is how they lined up at the end of that one, with Isaac Curtis taking home the race win for Revolution E-Racing. Trent Allen makes it a 1-2 finish for that crew, 10 seconds off the back of his teammate. John Trott will make up the podium for the elite class and overall for One Performance Racing here tonight, with Owen Coleman and James Mason making up the top 5. Will Buchanan, Brock Caddy, Brad Coates make up the top 8. To Kurt Chapman of Project 36, who takes home the GT3 Challenger class win here this evening in a top 9 position. Trent Stapleton will then make up the top 10. Jake Robillard and Dean Hunt make up the podium for the Challenger class, with Matt Feely and Mark Foster making up that top 5. Luke Caposa, Richard Mayer, Sean Benici, the top 17, ahead of Glenn Hopkins for our top 18 cars on the road this evening. It was only the top 13 cars on the lead lap as we look back to Greg Brutz, Martin Hallinan, Rick Hoyster, Adrian Gretsch, Edward Adcock and Greg Heaney, ahead of Isaac Norman, Luke King, Matt Webber. I nearly said Mark Webber, just like Biggles did before without you guys hearing. And Andrew Uden for the top 30. Tristan McLaren ahead of Ben Brook, Jesse McMenamin and Jamie Saxon ahead of Nick Bottrell, Dale Atkins, Glenn Jones and Braden O'Loughlin for the top 38 on the road here this evening. As we look back then to the next few cars of Nathaniel Coburn, Chris Ruddle, Stefan Mellis, Nick Miller as well, to Sam Lambert. Then we get to the non-finishers of Gavin Simpson, Leith McClement, Ricky Provenzali, John Lee and Brendan Purcell at the back end of the field. A big thank you to the race controllers, of course, Tim Lawson and Scotty Barton. Big thank you to you, Pete, for joining me alongside it tonight as well, and to Dean Biggles in the booth as the producer here tonight too. Let's have a quick chat to our podium finishers, and we'll start it off with our third place finisher here tonight of One Performance Racing with John Trott, or should I say Mr. Fuel Save. John, a fantastic fuel save effort from yourself to get home into P3 here tonight. That there was phenomenal. Congratulations, and a fantastic podium for yourself and for OPR.
Yeah, thank you. That was hell of a fuel save it was.
Now, are we going to have to maybe share this result with Gretschy just to rub it in his face a little bit, or what?
Oh, definitely.
Well, talk us through that one for yourself, because we had Stefan in the chat with us. Was he sitting there as your spotter tonight, just helping you out with some of those calcs and making sure you can make it to the end?
Yeah, it's just being in my ear, making sure I keep to the fuel lap, and just telling me when there was going to be traffic and whatnot. It was definitely a big help. So a big shout out to Stefan for that.
Well, 2 hours at the Bend, it's a difficult place to really get your head wrapped around it. Luckily, it's not the over 7 kilometre circuit that we're running tonight. It was only the 4.9k variant of the international circuit as well. How is, through the short time period this track's been on the service for this last season, how's this track ranking for you in terms of sports car racing and getting, nearly 50 cars on track and having a burl for a couple of hours?
I love it. My front left doesn't like it at all. I think I had... that was only 80% on that last stint, but one of the stints before was at 75, and then all of my testing I did it on a lot hotter track, and it was getting down to like 60, so... it's definitely a fun track, very technical, and you really, really have to save that front right tyre.
Well, you did well.
Front left.
Well, you did well to keep yourself nice and tidy tonight. 6 positions gained, 3rd place on the road. A fantastic effort from yourself, John. Let us know, helps get you and One Performance Racing out on track. Anyone else you want to give a shout out to as well? For myself, Pete, Dean in the booth with us here, and everyone out of Premier Endurance League, congratulations on your P3 here at Shell V-Power Motorsports Park.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to shout out you guys and the Pell Boys for running the series, and our sponsors, Shunts, Distraction. Hold on, I got to find them because I didn't prepare myself. We've got simrigs.com, Palmerston Bakery, Distraction Sim Supply, DSM Painting and Decorating, and Ground to Earth. Thanks,
John,
guys.
Thank you so much, John. Best of luck next time out at Watkins Glen. John Trott of One Performance Racing They're joining us out of P3. Next up, we have got P2 on the road. Trent Allen of ARTT Revolution E-Racing. Of course, Bathurst 1000 winner today with James Scott, and P2 on the road here at Shell V Power Motorsports Park. How is your fatigue right now, Trent? I assume your bed is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, my left leg was going with about 40 minutes to go. Yeah, I'm pretty tired, but pretty chuffed with today's both results, really. But yeah, I'm ready for bed.
I mean, a top-level result for yourself. I suppose it is a double win for the team, at least. Bathurst and then the Bend as well, with Isaac taking home the race win tonight too. And I mean, 2 podiums on the same day. That's a pretty fair stat for yourself. 21st of September is going to be a date I'm sure your team will remember for a long time. Obviously, the 1000 day fatigue was a big factor for you out at this track as well. How have you found acclimatizing to the Bend? And actually, how was it acclimatizing from the Mustang supercar at Bathurst to the Mustang GT3 here at the Bend tonight? Because the tracks are fairly dissimilar, but the cars as well. I mean, Pete mentioned earlier the GT car is probably the better choice to get in second because of the higher downforce. It's a bit easier to get around these tracks. But how was the acclimatization for you between the 2 cars across the day?
Yeah, actually, during the week, I was doing practice, sort of one then the other for that reason to get used to it. Well, I like you said, it was the right way to do it because I find driving those supercars so draining because you're just concentrating non-stop. Whereas this, I'm more comfortable in a GT car anyway. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, and because I'd done so much practice, it wasn't too much of a jump. But if it was the other way around and then trying to jump into a supercar afterwards, I think it would have been problems.
I think there might have been some problems, quite possibly. But Trent, a fantastic effort from yourself out there tonight, of course, and from your team as well. I mean, a really solid performance. Shout out to Will for his 10 positions gain. That was a fantastic race from him too. Yep. The final question I've got for you is, are you going to be there for 10 rounds this season of Split 2? I need to know.
I'm planning on it. My wife's not doing netball, so that was always the blocker, is if she had a late game, I couldn't join in at look after the kids. So she's not doing that this season, so I don't have any excuses.
Well then.
Hang on, that's the wrong answer. The right answer was no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well,
coming from another Split 2 driver, the right answer for you is no.
I'll definitely be there. Then.
Well then, Trent, if you're going to be there for 10 rounds,
I might not be, Hamish.
my top 5 prediction might have to change now, quite possibly, because I had you on a certain list of if he's there the whole season, he'll challenge for it. Well, if you're going to be there the whole season, Trent, we may have another front runner for the title. But irregardless, a fantastic effort from yourself, though. Well-deserved P2 tonight, and a massive congratulations on your 1000 win earlier in the day as well. Let us know who helps get you out on track. Anyone you want to give a shout out to as well, for myself, Pete and Dean here in the booth, and everyone at Premier Endurance League. Congratulations on your P2 here at Shell V Power Motorsports Park.
Thank you, appreciate it. Just want to give a shout out to AITT, Sudspeed, Kibby, IR Sidekick, Bunny's Builds, Shore by 4, but also to Isaac. Like, he put in the time to pull out the result, and he was flawless. Like, only our pit cycle sort of moved us around, but he deserves that. It was a great race.
Well, Trent, best of luck next time out at Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks' time. Appreciate your time coming over chat to us, and best of luck in the racing endeavours as well.
Thank you, gents. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Next up, we have our race winner here this evening, who locked down a double win in the same day for Revolution E-Racing. It is Isaac Curtis. Isaac, congratulations. Race win at the Bend. You looked absolutely flawless out there, I must say. The car came back looking as good as it did when it pulled off from the line. How was that one for you? Because it just looked like a nice Sunday drive at the front of that field.
Yeah, really good. It felt nice. It's my first win in Pell, so that's good. A couple of scary moments in the second stint there. But yeah, just had to head down and try not to keep making mistakes, I suppose. And then, yeah, the car kind of came back in the third and fourth stint, and it had really good pace. Obviously, Trent had a little bit of unlucky moments with back markers and that kind of stuff, which helped me pull a little bit of a gap out. But yeah, it's a great race.
I mean, it's a well-deserved result. I mean, Trent obviously had such a long day. I said at the start that his fatigue might hurt him a little bit. He said his leg was starting to hurt in that final 40 minutes, so that probably dropped his pace a little bit. But you raced out of your skin, man. You drove a fantastic race, and I think you should be proud of those efforts. Watkins Glen's the next track coming up, obviously in a couple of weeks' time. How are you feeling leading into that one? Of course, it's got a lot of sports car races that happen there throughout the year on the iRacing service. I'm just going to assume you've got a lot of laps there. Are you confident for that one, or do you think it's going to be one where Trent or someone else might be able to come back at you and take back a win?
I mean, Trent's always a factor. He's a bit of an alien. He's quite quick. I mean, as you said today, he had a massive day. He won the Bathurst 1000 for ASR in the V8, and then instantly jumps in a V8 and he's on pace. So he's always quick. He's always something to worry about, I suppose. But I guess we'll see. I haven't done a whole lot of laps at Watkins, but I have done a whole lot of laps at the Bend either. So back to practice and see where we end up, I suppose.
Well, I think your team has done an incredible job to get their performances out on the track tonight, and I think you've had a well-deserved race win as well, Isaac. Pete, is there anything you want to ask Isaac before we let him go here this evening?
Actually, you asked the question I was going to ask, which was about Watkins Glen. So, another track that is quite open, has good overtaking opportunities, but unlike the Bend, it's a track where most of us that are on iRacing have been able to do a lot of laps. So, do you expect it to be closer? I expect it to be closer. And if it is closer, how will you deal with it?
Yeah, I think it will definitely be closer. I'm not too sure why we had, like Trent and I had big standout pace tonight. Obviously, the Mustang plays a factor, as we've all heard, and it's probably quite a quick car and might need a balanced performance change. I hope it doesn't get it. But look, if it's close racing, then it's close racing and we'll just manage it on the night. There's nothing wrong with close racing. I don't mind rubbing a little bit of doors as long as it doesn't go haywire. So it is what it is.
I'll tell you what, if you watch the replay back, you're going to see plenty of side-by-side racing. Not with you guys, but with others through tonight.
I'm sure I will. I heard lots of people on the radio, so I guess it's either that or the F1. I don't know what I'm going to watch tonight while I try to fall asleep, but I won't be sleeping for a while, I'd say.
No, good on you, mate. That was an absolute cracker race, and you deserved the win. You were certainly a class above everybody else tonight. Congratulations.
Appreciate it, boys. Thank you very much.
Isaac, let us know anyone you want to give a shout out to before we let you go. Any of your team sponsors or anyone who may be watching and supporting you. For myself, Pete and Dean, congrats on the win. And congrats to RER on claiming Shell V-Power Motorsports Park here this evening. It's a fantastic effort you guys did.
Thank you very much, boys. Thanks heaps to, obviously, Revolution E-Racing and all of our sponsors, AITT, Sudspeed, Hibby IR, Sidekick, Bunnies Builds, and 4x4. Massive thanks for all your support, guys. And we'll see you next time.
Best of luck next time out at Watkins Glen. Isaac Curtis, our race winner here this evening at Shell V-Power Motorsports Park. And what that will mean is it'll bring an end to our time together here tonight. There we see the provisional results once again. It was Curtis to Allen and Trott on the podium. For the Challenger class, it was Chapman, Robillard and Hunt on the podium of that class as well. Massive thank you, though, to yourself, Pete, for joining me here this evening, and to Dean in the back end as well. That's the elite class results, too, of how they all ended up in their regular positions here at Tail and Bend. Next time out, we go racing at Watkins Glen in a couple of weeks' time as we see the Challenger class results as well. Only 4 cars finishing on the lead lap in that class at the end there. It'll be a couple of weeks until we're back on your screens with more of the Dash Off-Road 4x4 parts series here for the Premier Endurance League. At Watkins Glen, it'll be October 19th the next time we're on your screens. And it'll be those 2 weeks that we'll be racing with you on the 19th and the 26th as well. It should be Scott Rankin back in the booth here with yourself, Pete, as well. A big shout out, though, to all the series sponsors. Once again, of course, Dash Off-Road 4x4 Parts and Accessories Store. You can find them over at www.dashoffroad.com.au. To Sudspeed Gloves as well for being the safety car sponsor. The premium sim racing gloves for sim racers made by sim racers. You can find them over at www.sudspeed.com. To Kibby Graphics as well. You can find them over at kibbygraphics.com.au, and Sim Racing in Focus. Find them over at facebook.com/simracing in focus as well. Listen to the latest episode that they released at the start of the month too. But I've been Hamish Mono with Pete Baxter in the booth here this evening. Appreciate your time, appreciate your efforts being here with us once again. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, the subscribe, the bell icon too, so you're notified whenever we go racing here on the channel. But from all of us in the booth, a big thank you to Dean and Pete, from everyone who watched along with us as well. Thanks so much for joining us. See you guys next time, but stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.
Hey, and Hamish, one thing on behalf of Premier Endurance League, thanks for stepping in tonight. I know Scotty Rankin normally does a fabulous job, but you have certainly made an example that everybody else or somebody else can do what Scotty can do, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on board. And if he's not available, you'd be my number one go-to. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pete. Thank you very much. And thanks to Dean as well in the background. But thank you everyone who joins us. See you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.